You're tuning in to the Raised by Rentals program. This podcast will contain strong language and spoilers for decades-old media properties.
Join us.
Welcome, everybody. This is the podcast where we examine pop culture franchises of the VHS era, but take a hard pass at fighting our way through dangers untold and hardships unnumbered to the castle beyond the Goblin City, because that sounds hard. So I guess we'll just pretend and imagine how we might improve our favorite movies, TV, and games. I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
And we were raised by rentals. Mike, you remind me of the Babe.
What babe?
The Babe with the power.
What power?
The power of voodoo.
Hoodoo.
You do.
Do what?
Remind me of the Babe. The Great Bambino. The Sultan of SWAT. The Colossus of Clout. The Colossus of Clout. Sorry.
The Colossus of Clout. I like that one.
But yes, no, you remind me of the Babe. Toby Froud. You know, you look like a little baby.
Not to get us off on a rabbit trail immediately, but if you listeners get bored, look up the plastic meatball Labyrinth action figure, specifically for Toby. It's terrifying.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Just, wanted to put that out there.
Did you say plastic meatball action figure? That's like random words.
Plastic
together.
meatball. It's a company.
I can put random words together too. You know, I can say September Piedmont. Crystal Blackberry.
Oh my Crystal Blackberry. It's a new line of action figures. They're supposed to be like old school, classic, like Kenner style action figures. But the Toby figure, it's like whoever made this has never seen a baby in their life. It looks like a small man in a stripy jumpsuit. It's terrifying.
Okay. Yeah, so it pretty much like every mainstream superhero comic artist draws babies, just like a miniature man.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it. It definitely looks like a little baby body with like it's like they got the stunt double in the shot, like is the stunt double's head.
Yeah, exactly. It's terrifying. I frequently look at it and I'm just like, God, that kid's creepy.
Those actually are some pretty
But
cool
anyway.
toys, though. Yeah, you know me, I don't normally look at action figures, but yeah, those are some pretty damn cool toys. I like the Ludo.
Yeah. I like the weird little goblin that comes with Toby, but I'm like, I don't want Toby in my collection. I want that little goblin, though. It's cool.
I know. When I first Google image searched it, the little goblin came up, and I'm like, wait, is that why you're telling people to look this up? Because you're like, I don't know if these sculptors saw the movie because they thought Toby was like a little goblin with a crown on.
Oh God! No, the weird baby where he's just staring with the eyes of a man. It's
Nice.
just creepy.
Oh, I love it.
But anyway,
I got to zoom in on the Jareth. Does he have like a crotch bulge? No.
no, they didn't give him his most unique feature.
Right? Oh man. So it should be obvious by now that we are here for our 118th Raised by Rentals episode to do our twist, our take on some kind of a spin-off or an installment to follow up Labyrinth.
Yes. Before the official spinoff or sequel comes out, because there is stuff in the works apparently, but we've been hearing that for years.
Yeah. Even on like the Wikipedia article, it's like almost 10 years worth of like rumors about something was in a trade article, and then nope, then it was something else, and nope, never mind, then it was something else. So it's like I don't know. I guess we'll see. The only thing that seems to be, at least according to Wikipedia's timeline, that seems to be consistent is the director, and I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Is it Fede Alvarez?
Yeah.
But he did Don't Breathe and the 2013
Evil Dead remake, and yeah, he's a damn good director. Like there's quite a few good horror movies in his catalog, so I'm interested to see what he does.
Yeah, definitely. And he did Alien Romulus, which isn't perfect, but
Mhm.
I like it. I had a good time with
Oh
that.
yeah, I really enjoyed Romulus. It had its moments where I was like, yeah, I get why people are mad, but overall, I had a blast with it. I really liked it.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. Sometimes you just gotta like go into something with a bucket of popcorn and enjoy yourself, man. Like, stop thinking so hard.
Well, it's like we discussed on this very show with Alien versus Predator. Like, you liked the sequel a little bit more than I like. I really didn't like Requiem, but I enjoyed the first one quite a bit. And yeah, it's a fucking popcorn flick. It's a shut your brain off, enjoy the action, have fun.
Yeah,
You know,
I think they're both that way for
sometimes that's what
sure.
you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For the first AVP, again, I probably said it way back in our AVP ABCs episode. Was that season one? Is it that long ago? I don't remember now. But yeah, it's like I think the first one has cool ideas, and I like the lore. I like what they were trying for. I just felt like they fumbled the execution, but it's still a fun movie. Like I had a good time with it.
Oh yeah.
I definitely don't think it deserves the hate that it gets because there are far worse movies, not just in the Alien franchise, but just in general, far worse movies that people love that I think were handled even
Yeah.
more poorly. But, whereas
Completely agreed.
Requiem, from a filmmaking perspective, is a complete fucking mess. But I still had fun with it because it reminded me of a schlocky, low budget slasher flick, and you just turn your brain off and like watch the killer kill people and don't think too hard about the plot holes. you know?
Right. Good times.
Yeah, yeah. But Labyrinth from 1986 has a great plot. I think it has a wonderful story. Of course, it's
Mhm.
one of Jim Henson's babies as a writer, director, producer, paired again with Brian Froud on designs of story concepts, who I know you worked with on The Dark Crystal. So, yeah, Mike, jump in here at any point, please, because I have a feeling like you might know a little bit more about, maybe the backstory, or maybe you do, maybe you don't. But while I love Jim Henson, I wouldn't even call myself casually familiar with his body of work or his history. So I feel like I'm not the best voice to kind of like set this up or go over some of the kind of cool trivia. Do you have anything that strikes you as interesting about Labyrinth?
Not particularly. No, I feel kind of bad here because I'm kind of flounder myself.
No, that's cool.
I actually, this is one of those movies I just watched a lot as a kid. Like I don't really, never really paid much attention to the behind the scenes. Um, it is one of those movies that I will note has some great fucking matte paintings. I talk about this all the time on the Boogeyman's Closet, where I want a coffee table book of just matte paintings from movies,
Oh yeah.
because like when you first see the Labyrinth, it's a fucking gorgeous painting. Um, but that's just lost art. We don't see that in films anymore. Like the amount of great set pieces that were just paintings,
Mm,
of like, I
mhm.
love that. But yeah, no, I quite honestly, I'm not I'm a huge Henson fan, but I don't get into the details as far as like the puppeteers and all that kind of stuff. That's more something our buddy Professor Pickman would be more into. I just kind of like the movies.
Yeah.
So
That's how I feel too. Yeah, I absolutely loved Labyrinth as a kid. I don't know that I would rank it in the same way now in terms of my favorite Jim Henson production, but as a kid, absolutely, Labyrinth was head and shoulders above anything else. Better than The Muppets, better than Sesame Street. Like for me,
mhm.
Labyrinth was his magnum opus. I just thought it was sheer genius. You know?
Oh
Um,
yeah, no. As a kid, I was obsessed. Like I was kind of scared of the Dark Crystal as much as I loved it. The Dark Crystal actually really freaked me out as a kid. So Labyrinth was like the safe bet. There was something about puppets in general that scared me as a kid. So when Muppets became sinister, they really scared me. So like the weird giant like beetle monsters in the Dark Crystal freaked me out, and just the Skeksis in general, like they were just kind of freaky to me. And oh god, fucking Agra taking out her eye. That shit scared the hell out of me. Like, you know, again, I love the movie now. I love the Dark Crystal, but as a kid, that shit scared the hell out of me. Now Labyrinth felt very safe. I liked that movie quite a lot as a child. But there were two things that gave me the creeps. The Fireys, which I do love them, but the idea that they wanted to rip Sarah's head off scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Right?
I was like, oh god, she's trapped in a forest with these things that want to pull her apart. Like that's terrifying.
Right?
Um, I didn't like that, and I did not like the cleaners, like when they got dropped down into the oubliette and found their way into the hallway and all that, and then the fucking spirally drill bit puppeteered by the two
Yeah.
the two little goblins on the bicycle. But that thing scared the crap out of me again, like being trapped where it's like that's going to tear you apart. So yeah, as a kid, Labyrinth did have its moments that scared me. I'm super familiar with the Commodore 64 LucasArts video game of
Oh,
Labyrinth.
okay.
Um, because like George Lucas did have a hand in Labyrinth. I believe he was like the executive producer or something like that. So I know like, Lucasfilm had their hands all over this. But they made a video game that starts off as a text-based adventure. So if anyone has ever played like a game like Zork, like those old early 80s RPG games that were all text-based.
Hmm.
So it starts off as a text-based adventure where you and your friends are going to see the movie Labyrinth. And you're kind of like, it's like you're standing at a corner at night. There is a white owl looking at you. Which way do you go? And you're like, go north, go south, whatever. You find your way to the movie theater, meet your friends, you go see Labyrinth. Then the game properly opens. Like the curtains pull back, you see Jareth like talking to the audience, and then they single you out. And Jareth pulls you into the movie, and now you're playing a point and click adventure game where you're trapped in the labyrinth.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
it's a lot of fun. It's very Maniac Mansion in the sense of like it's just a point and click adventure, but
Nice.
it's a lot of mini games. Like you assault the goblin castle by like having Ludo sing for rocks, and you grab the rocks and you throw the rocks at the goblin. So it's almost like a shooting gallery game. And then there's like various like hedge maze games where you're like running around through the maze trying to avoid the little goblins with the little pinchers monsters,
Hmm.
the ones that were torturing Ludo. So it's like it was a very fun game that I don't think a lot of people remember because it was real early 80s. It was like, it was like 1986. And most video games at that point, people are playing stuff like Super Mario Brothers. They're
Yeah.
playing, platformers. They weren't really playing point and click adventure computer games.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I've
but yeah,
never
no,
heard of
it's
it.
yeah, it's a game I grew up playing, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, I have a lot of ties to that and to watching this movie over and over again as a child.
Yeah, I definitely watched it 1,000 times. I've never even heard of the game that you just described. It sounds fucking awesome. I
Oh yeah.
especially when you mentioned Maniac Mansion, and I was like, oh fuck, man, like where's this shit been my whole life, But I've never been a PC type of gamer, and I didn't have a Commodore 64. My aunt and uncle did, so when we'd visit my cousins occasionally, we would go there and play, like Where in the World is Carmen San Diego and shit like that. But yeah, they didn't have
Mhm.
this game, and yeah, like I said, I've never heard of it. You can tell from the way I'm saying that too is I didn't do a lot of research into the trivia and shit in preparation for this episode because I really just kind of wanted to get to the good stuff, but also because you and I talked about what we might do for the episode, and we agreed that doing a sequel to Labyrinth would be the most fun. But there have been some other like spin-offs and things in other media for Labyrinth. But like I said, I didn't really look up the trivia. Like I know there's probably been a novelization, especially in the 80s, all these, fantasy sci-fi horror movies all had a novelization, and I figured there were some games I didn't know. The only thing I know for sure is that there were comic books, and I did
Yes.
not look into any of them. I just in my own hobby as a comic fan, I have not. I've only read one of them, so I haven't read any of the the spin-offs, or I guess there was a prequel. Again, I don't know, and I purposely didn't look into it. The only one I have read is a short story that was a free comic book day issue. I forget what year, the early 2010s, and it's basically just a story about Hoggle and that cute little worm that invites Sarah in for tea toward the
Hmm.
beginning, and it's just about them on like they just have like a conversation and a simple little adventure. It's like a 10-page story. So like that's it. Like that's the only other thing I've ever read or experienced or I know about any lore in the world of the Labyrinth outside of this movie. So that's just sort of a disclaimer that whatever we do, whatever we
Yeah.
talk about in terms of sequel, this is just us having fun with almost no knowledge of like a wider franchise.
Yeah, this is literally just us going. We've seen the movie, and for me, I played the video game.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
so any other media out there, the manga, the comics, all that. It's just like, yeah, no, we're not including any of that. If there is any crossover, it's accidental.
Yeah.
So because neither one of us have read that. So,
Right. I don't even remember what the
um,
Hoggle story was about. I just know that that worm was in it. That's all I can remember.
yeah, no, and as far as like the quote unquote rumored sequel, I guess it's Robert Eggers, the guy who did Nosferatu and was it like the Northman and the Vitch and the Lighthouse and all that. Apparently, he's been tapped to direct it.
Oh, okay. So I thought it was still that Fede Alvarez guy. See, you never know.
Yeah, I
Right.
know it. At one point, he might still be on to produce or something because I know he was attached to the project. But yeah, I mean, at this point, like we've heard this rumor for the last what 10 years. There's a Labyrinth sequel.
Hmm.
There's a Labyrinth sequel. And it always falls apart. So fuck it, we're gonna do our own.
Yeah, just like with the Goonies sequel that the actors in the movie have been swearing they've been working on, and it's like I don't know, like I think I finally believe there's going to be a fourth Brendan Fraser Mummy movie. I finally believe that because of
Mhm.
Brendan Fraser himself talking about getting into shape for it, but
Yep.
all these other movies. I mean, we've seen the 30 plus year later sequels to things like Top Gun and Coming to America happen. So hey, you never know. But I mean, yeah, The Goonies is another one that's been promised for 10 years and we haven't seen it. So I don't know. Like, who cares? We're just gonna do it ourselves. We're gonna will it into existence.
Well, and that's the thing. Hollywood really is big on legacy sequels right now. Like we've gotten the Scream franchise reboot because of legacy sequels. We've got Beetlejuice is now back, and apparently the third Beetlejuice is on the way. So there's Hollywood likes doing their legacy sequel. So I really would not be surprised if we do get a legacy sequel of Labyrinth, where it's like we quickly touch on what happened in the first movie and then do our own thing because
Yeah.
that's generally what happens with a legacy sequel.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so there's a couple others like side comments I kind of want to mention before we get too deep into it. But before we change the subject, right before we started recording, you and I we both came to the sort of same conclusion that obviously, like you mentioned it, like of course we have to do that, which is for this sequel that we're going to do. It would make a lot of sense if we leaned into the trend that you mentioned here a few minutes ago, that kids movies and fantasy style movies from the 80s were just way creepier than they had to be.
Oh yeah, yeah. There, but I honestly feel like that was there's something that like a lost art with that, because like kids movies nowadays. Don't get me wrong. I know they still have stuff for adults and all. It's actually been several years since I've watched a kids movie because Caleb is now 14, so I don't really watch him anymore. But I did notice a lack of disturbing material from our childhood.
Yep.
Um, but I will say, like, there was something about that happened where it was like they didn't hold your hand. They were
Hmm.
just like, you know what? Yeah, this is life, kid. Buckle the fuck up. Like Return to Oz. It's like, oh, Wizard of Oz is all happy. No, Dorothy is getting electroshock therapy and she's going to go back to Oz and everything is wrong. Her friends are dead. Like, it's like, holy shit, what the hell? Like, you know,
Right.
the never ending story. Hey, kids, you know what's really terrible? Existential dread. You can't escape depression. You will die. Like, holy fuck, that is a kid's movie?
Right.
So we had that shit in spades as children. And since this is a 1980s movie that we are sequelizing, and we tend to make everything creepy. But I'm just saying, if you look at Return to Oz, we're kind of going with that formula of
Hmm.
this happy-go-lucky world. Maybe it's a little darker than it seems.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it already was darker than Sarah, the main character, thought it was in the first movie. Because
Hmm.
you mentioned some of the stuff that gets a little bit weird already in the first movie. I'm already calling it the first movie as if ours exists.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely creepy stuff. I mean, I learned the definition of the word oubliette as a kid, and I mean
Yep. Same.
that's a dark thing to teach like a 6-year-old, you know.
Sure is.
But I,
Especially when you find out the history of it, it's like Jesus Christ,
I
that's terrifying.
right, you mentioned a couple of examples of dark movies, and there's I always think of those. Of course, The Dark Crystal has so many things that are creepy. Just yesterday, when I was watching Labyrinth, I had it on, and Griffin walked in and sat and watched a little bit of it, and somehow we got on the conversation of how he tried to watch The Dark Crystal, and like when the Skeksis had just like creeped him out too much, and he was like, nah, like there's lots of movies in the world, I can watch something else.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That is more than fair.
exactly. But I always remember The Secret of Nim. That's the one that I think of a
Oh,
lot.
dude.
Right. I love The Secret of Nim. And shit, I'm just gonna say it now that I have like a list of movies that I would like to do with you on the Boogeyman's Closet someday for like birthday specials or whatever. And it's not at the top of my list, but it's getting pretty close. That I don't know if you would think that it fits the vibe of the Boogeyman's Closet, but goddamn, I would love to talk about The Secret of Nim.
I would not mind going back to doing family-friendly movies that were fucked up, because we did a month of that once. And Secret of Them, I would 100% put in that category because, yeah, like when she goes to talk to the wise old owl, that scene terrified me as a kid. Like when
Hell
the,
yeah.
the owl is in the tree and like it moves and all the cobwebs are attached to it, and it's like, ah, like why is it in there? Like all dusty and musty. It's creepy.
Yeah, and,
Um,
and that movie is it's messed up again. It's just it's dread and oncoming terror. I think The Secret of Nim is sort of like fear of the future. Like there's bad things are
yeah.
always happening. It's like the message that I got out of it as a kid. I had one of those like sticker books. You've mentioned these before. You had like a Nightmare on Elm Street one, I think, where you would get them as a
Hmm.
kid in the 80s, where you would get like a sticker and you put it in the book, and eventually you would like tell the whole story in like stills from a movie or
Yep.
something. I had one, and I had that for The Secret of Nim before I ever saw the movie, and I had some of the cards missing, and so I didn't really understand what the whole story was. But I somehow ended up with all the cards that had like, was it the character's name Justin, who was like bleeding from the gut, and I'm like, what happened? you know,
Oh God, I think so.
I can't
Was it
remember the
Justin? I'm looking it
detail.
up now.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The fucking rat sword fights.
Right. That
Um,
that one, and of course, and the last thing I'll mention is it is the Black Cauldron too, is another good example
yes.
from Disney, which Disney had to course correct their entire approach to making movies after the reaction, the public reaction to the Black Cauldron, which which is funny because the books it's based on are not that creepy, you know.
And I could be wrong. I'm trying to look it up right now. Maybe he didn't. I was gonna pin it on Don Bluth because he's one of my favorite animators, but also has some really fucked up movies in his catalog. But maybe he wasn't in the Black Cauldron. But I am seeing other ones in here. Like obviously he was in The Secret of Nem.
Yep.
But he's also responsible for All Dogs Go to Heaven. It's like, hey kids, Fido's in hell. Like what the fuck? Like
Yeah.
that movie messed with me as a child. It's like, dude. He also did, obviously Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, the video games that are super famous. But yeah, man, childhood movies for us, they're fucked up.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to purposely skew our Labyrinth 2 toward horror, but yeah, I think
No.
we shouldn't shy away from things like the Fire Gang, the Fireys, who just like pull people's heads off. Like we don't need to avoid things like that.
Right. And again, this is, as most sequels do, they have to up the ante. So in the first movie, it was already like, hey, come get back your brother that you didn't want, or I'm gonna turn him into a fucking goblin. Like it's already kind of fucked up. Like you're gonna steal a baby and transform it into a monster. okay, it's kind of dark, so let's go with
Right,
it.
right, exactly. Oh man, so yeah, I had a few other things I was going to say, but I'll save them for the end. So yeah, let's just go ahead and dive right in. I think it makes sense since it makes sense since that's a strange sentence because uh,
That's
since Jennifer Connelly, the actress who plays Sarah, was somehow miraculously for Hollywood at least she was actually the same age as the character was supposed to be, like she was actually a 16-year-old teenager.
hmm Which blows my mind looking back on it, because I'm like, she seemed so much older when I was a kid, and I'm like, oh my god, she's a baby.
Right, that's exactly when I was a kid I thought of her as like an adult, especially
hmm
you know maybe she was on summer vacation, maybe it was the weekend, I don't know, I don't remember what day it was supposed to be, but she's left home alone with the baby, and again as a kid, as a 6 7 year old kid watching this, I just assumed that she was an adult, and now as an adult
Same.
watching it and I'm just like, yeah, wow, like look at the baby fat in the cheeks, oh my gosh, like she's so little,
she she's a baby.
yeah.
Like, holy crap.
Oh man, especially if you Google just photos of her for like behind the scenes when she wasn't all done up in like, the camera ready makeup. She looks even younger because it's like, yeah, they can do wonders with, with makeup to make, characters, look good on camera. And I think, it does make them look older sometimes too. But anyway, what
Oh
I was, I think it makes sense to stick with the youth angle. I think that she should still be kind of young. Obviously,
yeah.
older than 16, but I don't want to do this like let's return to Sarah. What's she doing as an adult, 10, 15 years later? I say we just, we come back to her maybe
Mhm.
a year, 2, 3 years later, and we,
Yeah.
we pick her back up in the real world. Like, what is she doing now? And, there's got to be, I feel like it's a no-brainer to say there's got to be some reason for her to return to the labyrinth.
Well, yeah. Okay, so let's just jump right in here. So let's say, so she was 16 in the first movie. Let's say it's like 3 years later and she's off to college, so it's like she's just a little bit older, but we need to explain away the end of the first movie, because again, we're doing a sequel here. When a movie ends with something completely unrealistic, and we talk about it in the sequel, we kind of have to like hand wave that away. So at the end of the first movie, we see that Jareth lost his powers. He turned back into the owl. He clearly is on the outside of everything looking in, when Sarah's inside of her room having a party with Hoggle and Ludo and all the denizens of the labyrinth. And we see Jareth, looking in the window, and then he flies off into the night. So we have to explain that part
Mhm.
away. Like, obviously, if the creatures can just come over into the real world, like, why would she need to go back? So that we could totally pull a Wizard of Oz type thing. We could have like open the movie like right after the original movie ended, see Sarah like laying in bed like sweating, and have maybe her parents wake her up and be like, oh my god, honey, are you okay? And have her like, what's going on? And have them talk about how she's been sick for a couple days, like she's had a very bad fever. Because again, when we see Sarah in the first movie, she's out playing in the rain like an idiot. So
Right.
maybe she got herself nice and sick, and so now it's the question of, did that really happen, or was it all a fever dream? Was the labyrinth real, or was I hallucinating due to an illness? And then we could, fast forward, she goes off to college, and she's clearly going to be like a drama student, like theater kid, um doing various work, and maybe she could be seeing an owl everywhere she goes, like seeing an owl
Okay.
like in the trees near the school, or like just kind of hooting out to her and being like, what the hell is that, what's going on with this owl? And then she could start having dreams again, like dreams of the labyrinth, but everything is wrong. Like maybe like the castle is crumbling, or like the walls of the labyrinth, like there's big holes in them, like stuff has fallen down. um Maybe she's seeing like some of the, like she's seeing the fire gang, but they look different, they look angry, they look, like they look more like warlike than they were. Like something is wrong with the labyrinth.
Okay,
Kind
yeah.
of on the same boat here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just start right off the bat with putting paid to our promise that would make things a little bit creepy. So I think that's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
we go right into, she left the labyrinth, and I mean, it was never a happy place, but it was fine.
Right.
Lots of glitter everywhere. You know.
Yeah. Those walls had a lot of glitter on it.
Oh God, everything did. Yeah, and of course, with being happy with her characters, it's a happy ending. So yeah, I think that's perfect. I like that idea. I don't want to you know, do the whole story like scene by scene, beat by beat, but just in the interest of like, setting the groundwork. I like this idea. Maybe she's at college, she's a freshman at college. We got to have some little piece of drama, just like we did or they had in the first movie with her coming home late and the stepmother was angry because she was home late and we get to see how Sarah is just like a whiny immature baby. you know
Right.
for all of her complaining that her baby brother Toby was crying all the time, I was like, bitch, like you crying just as much as him with all your whining about shit not being fair. Like you're the one that was late. Wear a watch.
Where am I? I like that.
um, but we got to see her personality a little bit and like her situation. So I think that makes sense. And I like the idea of sort of taking her away from her parents because she wouldn't immediately have like go to her dad like something weird's going on like like most movies like for some reason a protagonist who's like an orphan somehow makes the story easier. Not that her parents are dead, but just you got to take them out of the picture, right?
Well,
um,
it's the rule of the horror movies that parents are stupid, so you got to get them out of the picture.
exactly. Kids can solve
Because
their own
parents can,
problems.
well, and parents can usually stop the bad thing from happening. Kids, we don't know how. So,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And like, but kids think they know how. They think they're really competent. It reminds me of what year was that in the 90s? There was this movie called House Arrest about this kid whose parents were getting divorced and he like locks them in the basement because he
oh
like refuses to let
yeah.
them get divorced and then the other kids in the neighborhood think it's a great idea and they like kidnap their parents and bring them over and they lock all the neighborhood parents in the basement to like sort their problems out.
God, I forgot about that movie. Talk about memory unlocked. Holy crap.
Right? Oh man. Okay, so l- the little bit of drama is the word drama is the perfect thing for it. Of course, she's a drama student, like you said. Of course, she is. I never even noticed it in the movie until I was watching it critically this most recent time for the, getting ready for the podcast, that in her bedroom, I think everybody noticed upon a second watching that she has dolls and stuffed
Oh
animals
yeah.
that look like all the characters, like Sir Didymus
Yep.
and Ludo and all them. But what I never noticed is that she also has playbills from plays and she has a whole scrapbook of stuff cut out that are like pictures of like her and friends like on stage, I think, and there was like celebrities.
Mhm.
It goes by quickly, and even if I paused it, it was hard to get a good look. But it's clear that she's really not just into playing pretend in the park like a little kid, but she's really into acting and like clearly wants to go into theater. So we have her as a college student. She's a drama student, and the bit of conflict is that there's some play like it's the big play for the first half of the year, like big, maybe it's the big like Christmas play that's coming up soon, and she's like a freshman, she's a new student, and she's just so convinced that she's of I have to have this part. Like they're putting on, I don't know from plays, but they're putting on something like Midsummer Night's Dream, right, by Shakespeare, something
Mhm.
fantasy that of course, she loves that. She has to have the main role, because
Right.
it speaks directly to her, or maybe it's something to do with, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and she wants to play Guinevere or some shit. Again, I don't know from plays. I'm sure there's one that's out there. One of our theater friends will tell us about it. Please in the comments. We need more of those. Okay. Anyway.
Yes.
And that's just it. I mean, that's it. And then maybe we can close that arc at the end of the story. Maybe we don't have to. Whatever. We just that's the drama. Maybe she's not as good of an actor as she thinks she is. But yeah, to your point, she sees the owl around campus. She's kind of freaked out by it. Maybe she has a friend who's at like hey Sarah, what's wrong? And she's distracted and yada yada yada. She has creepy dreams. Okay, so then what? So I was thinking one of the characters that she knows should, bring her back to the labyrinth and, help me fill this in because I don't know who it is, but like mystery character X, when we saw her friends at the end of the first movie, it's like she looked in the mirror and she saw their reflection, and they weren't actually
Yep.
with her in the room, or at least they weren't at first, but it was like somehow the mirror was a means of communication. So I think it would make sense if she sits down at a mirror, like in her dorm room, or maybe even, you know, it's like a vanity mirror with the lights on it or whatever, and then she sees a reflection of X character and turns around and the character's not there, but she looks back in the mirror and it's like there they are. They're going to talk to her and tell her, oh, something's wrong.
Okay. See, now I was thinking slightly different. I like where you're going with this. So what if we do the whole thing where, she has, the letdown at school, all that, back at her dorm, she's kind of bad and bummed out and all that, and looks, is maybe taking off her makeup. She looks up in the mirror, and maybe she sees like just the quickest flash of what appears to be like maybe Hoggle, and he's like, Sarah, we need your help, or like, Sarah, help, and then it's gone. Just gone as quick as
Hmm.
it, as quick as it was there, and have her just be like, "What the hell? Like, what's?" No matter how much she looks, it's not there anymore. She's like, clearly, I'm tired. I need to go to bed. Goes to bed, has another nightmare about the labyrinth. And like this time we could see like maybe like a marauding army of goblins led by, like, I'm picturing like this big, like almost Ludo sized goblin. Like there's a joke in the Discworld series where there's
Hmm.
like this 6 foot guy and he's a giant dwarf.
Oh, yeah, I've
So
heard of him. Yeah, yeah, I've heard of that.
so it's like I feel like it would be really funny because goblins they tend to be small. So this is like a giant goblin. He's like a Ludo-sized goblin. I'm picturing him kind of like hunched over with like big warts all over him, like a huge bulbous green nose with like big old warts on it. Um, like wearing armor that's like too small for him, it doesn't quite fit,
Yeah, that's good.
just like leading a charge of like all these like swarming goblins, like attacking the other areas of the labyrinth. Like maybe she's dreaming of them like burning down the Fireys forest, and like the Fireys are running through the forest like attacking the goblins back, and it's just like everything is pure chaos.
Okay.
Wakes up in a cold sweat, hearing something scratching at the window. Like, you hear like the tap, 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 like something at the glass. Looks over, and there's a fucking owl outside the window.
Okay.
So she's looking at it just like, okay, why the fuck not? Like opens the window and it flies in and it lands on her vanity and like looks back at her. But when she sees what she sees in the mirror, like she's looking at the owl looks at her and looks to the mirror. And what she sees in the mirror is an old, withered, like powerless Jareth.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he's telling, and maybe he flat out tells her, he's like, I know you've been seeing the dreams, you've been seeing the visions. There's a reason for that. You took my power from me. He goes, but without my power, the labyrinth is in ruin. The creatures have, there's been a power vacuum. The goblins have risen up,
Hmm.
and now they're trying to take control. They're trying to take over everything. He goes, if you ever cared about your friends, or you ever cared about the labyrinth to begin with, you would go back and stop this. You would put an end to this. Like maybe he's kind of just like taunting her, like egging her on, like, you have to go back to the labyrinth.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I like that. And of course, she's gonna say something about like, oh no, like, things were terrible, and I fixed it. Like I left my friends there to, start over. Like, they were gonna help the goblins, rule themselves. They don't need you, as a, ruling over them like a dictator or whatever. But yeah, to your point,
Hmm.
I'm thinking of Tom Cruise as the vampire Lestat at the end of Interview with the Vampire. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
spoilers, sorry, and you see him, he kind of shows up, and he he's looked better, but it's like, or there's also another scene in Interview with the Vampire where it's like old Lestat who hasn't he hasn't fed or whatever in a long time, and he's like sitting in a dark room like a corpse. That's kind of how
Yep.
I'm picturing of Jareth. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. They have to have a little back and forth. We don't need to get into all the detail, but I think he should convince her that yes, she does need to go back. That she did this thing that she thought was this great feat to not only rescue her brother Toby, who Jareth had kidnapped away, or she not kidnapped because she literally wished for the Goblin King to come and take him, but
Right.
but also that he convinces her that she didn't understand the consequences of what she had done. And
Mhm.
as I say that out loud, I don't know what it is, but I'm seeing the seed of a theme, right? So in the 1986 Labyrinth, there is a theme of growing up, becoming mature, and realizing that the world is not fair. Just because you think that something should be a certain way doesn't mean that it is. The world isn't a black and white place, and the way to part of growing up is understanding that the world doesn't follow your rules. You need to adapt yourself to the way that things actually are. And I think that
Yep.
that ties into the way that she finally defeats Jareth is when she realizes that he has no power over her. And she says that. And it's because she had been living, this adventure or under the misconception that, oh, the rules that, she thought were true, that, this is the way it works in these fantasy stories. Well, oh, I have to go rescue my brother before the time is up. And it's like, that was never really true. Like, he had no power over her all along. She just assumed that she did. And it took her
She gave
growing
him
up
the
a little.
power.
Yeah. So she had to realize that things weren't always what they seemed, things weren't fair, and she grew up a little bit. And that was the whole. So as I say, maybe we can figure this out as we go through the story. Maybe there's ways we can think about the lesson for this movie is that you have to understand that everything you do has consequences and you're responsible for those consequences, whether it's fair or not, whether you did it on purpose or not. Like it's a
Right.
lesson all little kids have to learn. Like, oh, you spilled the milk on the floor. I didn't do it on purpose. Well,
You still got to clean it up.
exactly. I don't know if your kids say that all the time, but mine certainly do. And it's like, I wasn't blaming
Ugh.
you on like maliciously spilling the milk on the floor, on purpose to spite me, but like you got to clean it up. You can't just leave it there,
Right.
you know?
It's just because you didn't mean to do it doesn't mean that you're exempt from the fallout of doing the thing. It's like you still got to handle it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so yeah, so let's get into it, right? So she goes back to the labyrinth. Is it that does she go with like Jareth somehow? I feel like Jareth would have maybe he has like a spark of magic left in him to spirit her back there.
I don't think he should have any magic. I think what it should be is like, so like he does the thing where he's talking to her from the other side of the mirror. Like that's all he's able to do. He can't even transform back. Um, and he explains to her like, you took my power, you have to go back to the labyrinth.
Mm.
And maybe she's like, I don't know how, and he's like, yes you do. And she turns and like maybe the door opens, like her dorm door opens, and right outside the door is the stone corridor of the beginning of the labyrinth.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's just like the power to go back is in her because she took his power. So
Hmm.
now it's like, she walks through the door and maybe we could see like the owl flies in after her and just flies away. So it's like, where did Jareth go? Maybe he'll be back. Who knows? We'll bring him back sometime. But now she's
Yeah.
walking down the corridor of the labyrinth, just like literally, like we hit the ground running within like, just like the original movie. She was in the labyrinth in the first 10 minutes of the fucking movie.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's like, it should be the same thing here. Like we get her right there. She goes right in and it's just, and we're following the same beat of the original film in the sense of like, Jareth kind of shows her the way, like opens the door for her in a weird way. And as soon as she gets there, it's like, boom, she's in the stone corridor. But this time it should be different. There should be like, like crude drawings, almost like graffiti, like of goblins,
Hmm.
like goblin heads or like goblins rule, like stuff like that. And like the walls are like there's rubble all over the place, like they're half knocked down, just everything is wrong. Vines are overgrowing it. It looks weird and destroyed. Um, so yeah, like have Sarah start heading toward the castle, like going toward like down the corridor toward the castle, and we could even have her. Maybe she runs into the worm, but
Yeah.
he's like, we could have him be all grizzled, like he has an eye patch,
Yeah.
and he's like old.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, she should run into him just like she did that first time, and of course she remembers, and then she can ask him, like, oh, you were so like kind to me, like I have to go, I can't stay, but like put a tell the missus I said hi or something, because he was always talking about like come inside, have a cup of tea with the missus, and he has to
Yeah.
say like she died in the Goblin uprising last spring or something like that.
Yeah, it's like she gets there, she starts talking to him. I'm totally picturing Snake Plissken. He's got the eye patch. It's like he doesn't have a red scarf anymore. He's just like he looks like all angry and grizzled. And like she could say like, oh, how's the missus? And he could like spit like one of those little like the fucking Jim Henson Muppet loogies,
Yeah.
where their whole face like pulls and it's like hawk patoo type of thing. And he spits it and he's like, she died in the Goblin uprising. It's like, oh my god, like.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, dude. Like, I'm totally hearing Jason Statham's voice in my head.
Yes.
Oh god, but like kind of high pitched.
Mhm.
Oh god, no, yeah, that's great. And then oh shit, she's got to say something like oh you poor thing, like you must be you must be heartbroken, and then he's gonna say like, nah, I'm just a worm. But
Or
that's got to be like his catchphrase, like, and it would be this really cool thing if as she continues through the labyrinth, every once in a while something happens where it's like oh no, like there's a monster like over your shoulder, that she doesn't see, like oh no, like look out behind you, Sarah, and but like out of nowhere the monster, it's like it goes ah, and like there's like an arrow sprouting from its eye, like a little tiny arrow, and you look over and you see the worm, and it looking like fucking Rambo with like a bow and arrow, just like somehow on like a wall, like he followed her. It's like we just got to keep doing that, and at some point she's gonna ask him his name, and the same thing, he's like, ain't got no name, just a worm. you know
yes, yes, we turned him into a small action star.
Yes, absolutely. Oh god.
Oh my god,
Hey,
that's good.
if Gizmo can become Rambo and Gremlins too, like why not the worm,
Fuck
right?
yeah,
Oh, I love
fuck
this.
yeah.
Yeah, and just real quick, like little piece of imagery since I mentioned the mirror. It would be a fun thing if like if it was how when she walked into the wall in this long corridor you're talking about, it was like she thought it was a wall, but then she was able to just like walk past like the optical illusion of it. Like what if it was like
Mhm.
what if however her mirror that she was using was set up, maybe it's like one of those like floor to ceiling mirrors. Like what if she looks at the mirror and she kind of has a little like a vision, like oh she remembers she saw Hoggle in the mirror, and then like what if she's like yeah instead of saying like you have no power over me, she says yeah, I have the power. And she just like steps forward, for a split second, you think that she's gonna like, bang her head on the mirror glass, but instead she walks like right through the mirror. And then to your point,
Mhm.
she turns around and it's like, oh, well, she just walked into the corridor. Like, oh shit, like, she was able to just do it on her own. I think that would be a fun little
Mhm.
visual. But yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
we have her I don't know what the next step is in terms of like she's got to encounter something in the labyrinth. It would be definitely fun to set some of these things up, just like she did in the first movie where she encountered all these like cookie characters, and the labyrinth isn't what it seems, and we kind of repeat that a little bit, which I think it makes sense for a sequel. But when I'm but we definitely need to have her once again trying to get back to the center of the labyrinth. But to your point, it's like things are getting worse, dirtier, nastier, and the labyrinth didn't have a lot of like didn't there weren't like a lot of characters really in it other than like the occasional weird one she came across, like the wise man with the talking bird hat. But like I feel like there should be like little battles happening, or like we find some character and like who's in the middle of being like mugged by like a little gang of like like little like punk street kid goblins, shit like that.
I think what we should do is like after the conversation with the worm, like and have her explain like she's got to get to the center of the labyrinth, and have him just be like, well, that's where you go. And he points just like where he pointed before, only this time like the walls are knocked down. Like you see like something like the Hulk fucking barreled through a bunch of the paths.
Hmm.
So like you just see there's like a center like swath cut right through to like not the center of the labyrinth, but like deeper into the labyrinth. Like she could just skip right through. And as she's walking through, like you could see like, you know, like maybe there's like bones and like random shit like strewn in the corridors. Like bad shit went down here, right? Maybe between the walls, like the different paths, like we could see like boulders, like crushing little, like we see little goblin feet like sticking out from under boulders, or like, you know, there's, like I said, there's graffiti, there's bones, there's cobwebs, there's all sorts of crazy crap. Like it's just, it looks like a battle, like a giant battle has happened here. But as she's walking, maybe she hears a very familiar voice, like, you know, have at thee, knave, back, back, I
Oh,
say.
nice.
And you know, she goes running over, and who do we see but Sir Didymus and Aloysius protecting like this weird little, like I'm almost picturing I forget his name, but the little furry guy from Black Cauldron, the Munchies
Oh,
and Crunchies guy.
Gurgi, I think it's pronounced. Gurgi.
Gurgi, yeah. So picturing like a little, like a Muppet version of Gurgi, like a little, just a little
Hmm.
tiny, unassuming little fuzzy dude. You
Okay.
know, he's cowering behind Aloysius, and maybe like the fairies that we see in the first movie. Remember, Hoggle's using like the pesticide on them because they're little bastards and they bite. You know, what if
Yeah.
they're like these? They're like flying like piranha, like locusts. Like they're coming after Sir Didymus and Aloysius, and they're batting him away, and they're biting on his little stick and biting on his shoulder pads and all that. And he's like, "Away, away with you!" So Sarah runs over and starts swatting him aside, and you know, like she grabs one of the fairies and it bites her, and she's like, "Oh, you little jerk!" and like throws it, and you know, so eventually they clear the fairies, and the swarm flies away, and you know, Sir Didymus could be like, "Doth my eyes deceive me, Sarah? Could it really be you?" You know, and have the, you know, the tearful like reunion, the hug, and all that. And then like maybe while they're doing that, we could hear some big noise, like some big coming up from behind him, and turn and look and see like this. Remember how in the Goblin City we had the giant like metal golem,
Hmm.
you know, like,
Yeah.
so we could see like maybe a smaller version of that. I'm picturing like a little goblin sitting in like a cockpit, and just like almost like the Avatar mechs,
Okay. Yeah.
kind of
Okay.
like that, but like a goblin, like if a goblin made one of those, like start like lumbering toward them from one of the corridors, and have him be like, "Oh, Sarah, we might be in trouble, my dear," you know, have that, and then have the thing explode, like just fucking boom, and see the goblin eject, and he's like flies out like, ah, it was like his ass is on fire and all that. And then we look over and we see the worm, and he's sitting there looking at, and he looks at Sarah, and he's like, "As you were," and he right like slithers away, like he's a fucking resistance fighter, this little worm guy.
I
You know,
love it.
it's like, oh shit, like he fucking took out the big goblin mech. So have Didymus, you know, get this little, and he's like, there, little fella, you know, it's, come with us, we'll take you to safety. And he pulls the little tiny fuzzy guy up onto Aloysius with him, and he starts leading Sarah. He's like, you know, you must come with me, you know, the others won't believe, you know, believe that you're here, type of thing. And have her be like, others, and he's like, oh yes, my brother Sir Ludo and Sir Hoggle, like we've been helping to fight against the goblin army. And you know, he's going on about how they have the you know, they have all the, basically all the denizens that don't want war
Yeah.
safe, you know.
Okay.
And you know, maybe they introduce this little character, let's call him Wobby. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that's like, you know, I'm thinking like Dobby, you know, just a weird little
Yeah.
creature, you know,
Little Whoopi.
Wobby.
Little Whoopi. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Maybe he's one of those creatures like that. Like it's like that's all he can say. You know, like a Groot or
Mhm.
something like that. Where you know, like yeah, you know,
Like a Pokemon.
yeah. Sarah goes to like say hi. Oh, are you okay, little guy? And it's just like Wobby, Wobby. You know.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I guess Wobby's your name, you know. So yeah, so like they lead them, like, or Aloysius and Sir Didymus lead them out of the labyrinth like
Hmm.
corridors, and like maybe to that, because remember how there's like when they first get to the labyrinth, you see the dead forest around the labyrinth.
Yep.
So maybe they like go out toward that, and there's like a big cave, and you see these rocks like roll aside, and you know that leads them inside, and there's Ludo. And Ludo, maybe he's like, he looks different. You know, obviously it's going to be a couple of years, but he's become stronger in his magic. Like he's like standing in the center of the room, like almost like doing this low hum, kind of like the oh God, why can't the Mystics in Dark Crystal, how they're
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah.
ooh, like he's got his hands up and he does like this low grumbly like howl almost, and we see the cave, like the rocks roll back in front of the cave entrance, like blocking them out, and we see like rock soldiers, like picture golems made out of just boulders, like I'm picturing the
Hmm.
remember in the late 90s when everyone started doing 3D graphics for the first time and everything was like just spheres connected to each other?
Yep.
I'm picturing that, like these spherical boulder men just like all meshed together with boulders.
Nice.
Um kind of standing on either side of the opening with torches, just like they're the guards. And so we see that Ludo has created this army of rocks to
Nice.
fight back against the goblins. So they get in there, and of course we see, we meet Hoggle, and he looks a little different. He looks more like a resistance fighter. Like he's got some leather armor on and like a big maybe he's got like a bow and arrow over his shoulder or something.
Yeah.
Like they've seen some shit. And I like the idea of having various denizens of the labyrinth. So maybe we do see a few goblins like devoid of armor, just like wearing regular like shirt sleeves and stuff. Just they don't want to fight. They didn't want to be part of the army to begin with. Like maybe they were the goblins living in the little courtyard outside the castle.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
like let's have some fireys, but like they're missing parts. Like we just got like a fiery head with two hands like stuck up for feet. And it's like they took my body, and he like runs away.
Yeah, there should be like some like a rock dude, like a rock body, but it's got one of those like door knocker things stuck on the front
Hmm.
of it, like its face. Like the door knocker has like a
Yeah,
body now.
yes. We should have the guys who lie and tell the truth.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
just they'll be like, "Oh, Sarah, it's so good to see you." But like, "It is not, you liar." And they're just like, fighting back and forth.
Yeah, I love that. And there should be, hell, maybe there should even just be like random of those like helping hands. Like that's not like a body,
Mhm.
but like, it's like they're just around almost like a bunch of little like the thing from Adam's family, and like
Yep.
where it's like, Hoggle can say like, now where did I put that map or whatever? And then like some helping hands, just like there's like three of them at once, just like reach out and like hold up the map or something. Like they just kind of pop out of nowhere, like every time somebody, or like when Sir Didymus is like, Aloysius, like get over here, and then you see Aloysius like trying to like hide, and like there's like a couple of helping hands all like grouped together into like a little man who's like pulling on the leash.
Yes, I like that. That's cool.
So it's like they, like she hooks up with their friends, like they have their, their little reunion, and they should tell her that, of course, or she should ask, like, what's happening with the labyrinth, and they need to tell her that there's somebody new sitting on the throne of the Goblin King, but it's not Jareth, it's this it's like a warlord, like a goblin warlord who has rallied all of the goblins who were in the castle beyond the Goblin City, and he's got them all on his side. They're all convinced that he's the new ruler, and he's been trying to take over the whole realm of the labyrinth and around the labyrinth, and but doing it violently. He's a tyrant who wants to rule everybody with an iron fist, kind of a thing.
I'm picturing, like him being this huge goblin. Like he's this big, like 6 foot, like almost Ludo sized goblin, but he's all hunched over. I'm picturing like a yellowy green skin, big, huge bulbous nose, like wispy blonde hair, just like barely hanging onto his head. And like armor that doesn't quite fit. Like everything is just missized on him. But he's like this big, gross, gruff goblin that, again, he's the biggest of them, so
Yep.
he rules, that type of a thing. And we could see like a flashback scene, like when they're not really a flashback, but like a montage scene as Hoggle is explaining. Like we could see Grumpf taking power. this big goblin guy taking power, like slamming his
Hmm.
fist on the side of the Goblin King's throne, and we see the goblins going out into the labyrinth and like taking over. Like they're rounding up the fireys, and the fireys are fighting
Hmm.
back, but then they're getting their tribes are getting split up. So you have some fireys that are taken, other ones that run off into the forest. We could see all this different, like basically just the destruction that Grumpf has caused, like shooting the cannon goblins into the walls for fun, just
Hmm.
like destroying everything. And have like we also see like Ludo and Hoggle gathering up those that don't want to fight, or gathering up those that want to live peacefully and hiding them away, like whisking them away just outside the labyrinth. Like even though, yeah, they can't live in their homes anymore, they can at least be safe. So like Hoggle could
Hmm.
explain to her how, we have to stop the Goblin King. We it's like, yeah, Jareth was bad, but this guy is insane. Like he's like a mad child king.
Yeah, and they can even talk about that, how, Jareth was evil, but, it was like it was still a functional society. Like, this isn't my dialogue, but like I don't know what the dialogue would be,
Yeah.
but like they're trying to explain it. Jareth was evil, but at least it was a place where people could live. I mean, we saw in the first movie, like there were like houses and stores. Like, we never saw a lot of
Hmm.
characters in them because it would have been like, even more puppets they had to make. But there was like
Right.
a whole town. Like the Goblin City was a city. But now with this guy, it's like maybe they even say that he's not even really looking to take over. It's like he's just looking to destroy everything, and just for the fun of doing it. It's like they can even maybe mention something like, it's like he's not thinking at all about the consequences of his actions. He's just destroying everything as he takes over, because it's like he gets a kick out of it.
That's the thing. Goblins are chaos incarnate. It's like they like to destroy. So they have to take down the Goblin King.
Yeah, so I think that they should take off, right? They should like gather together, like to have their little group to go on. It's like the fantasy novel. The group has to go on the mission, right? And
Yep.
so we got to have Sir Didymus, we got to have Hoggle, obviously Sarah, like maybe that little wobby creature like has taken to Sarah, and like like he's like hanging off of her back or something. Like I,
Yeah.
for some reason, even I know it's like a little cute little creature, but I'm thinking of Chewbacca carrying around C-3PO, or like Luke with Yoda as a backpack, something like that, right?
Kind of like Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, there you go. That works too, right? And it's yeah, and then I don't know, maybe we have a fiery, like we can introduce one or two of these newer characters who comes along with them, Yeah, let's use a fiery. Let's pick one of those, one who's like a little bit less crazy, but who still occasionally, is eyes up, Hoggle's arm, like that looks real cool, like like jealously, like with greed, like kind of a thing. And let's call this guy. We have to have him a name. Let's call him Flamlin. I don't know why Flamlin. I know, just a random name.
Okay.
So let's have Flamlin go with them, and but they shouldn't all go. Like somebody has to stay behind. Maybe Ludo has to stay behind because he's
Yeah.
the one who's like controlling like the rocks that are like kind of like their base and their guards.
Yeah. I think because again, we already established there's like a group of civilians, for lack of a better term, that are being protected by Ludo. So he kind of has to keep doing his like rock singing to like
Hmm.
keep everything going. So like he's kind of at the center of the resistance, keeping everything alive by using his magic.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So and then I just said that because I'm like, well, somebody should stay behind, because maybe we need to have somebody like come and help later, kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, so our group heads off, and again, just maybe like a little bit of business getting through the labyrinth. They know where they're going, but it's just dangerous. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but maybe they run into like these like little creatures that look like they're like little pixies, little cute
Hmm.
little things, but they're just all like little ankle biting little bastards who like jump all over them, like the critters or the munchies, from like old 80s
Well,
movies about creepy little critters.
There was the little dudes that lived in the floor, and
Oh
when Sarah was
yeah.
first, they kept popping up and like moving the tiles. Like maybe they're like trapdoor spiders. Like they're walking through and they're like jumping up and like grabbing onto their ankles and biting them. They're like, "Ow, get the hell off of me!"
Yeah.
And they're just like, screaming, and they're like,
Yeah.
like yelling in their little jibber jabber voice.
Yeah, exactly. And Hoggo's just like, it's like pixies. I hate pixies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I love it.
exactly.
But yeah, like we get to like a little bit of business, but I think we should just get them to the castle. Like this isn't really
Well,
about repeating the journey. Like I feel like we need to like meet this Grumpf character.
Well, and not for nothing, but like the walls have been destroyed. Like
Hmm.
the labyrinth, there's like holes through it because again, Grumph is destroying the entire kingdom. So it's like they're going to be able to walk through. Like, yeah, there's going to be some pitfalls. There's going to be some little monsters and stuff. Like maybe they have to like walk around like a little chasm or something. Just there's going to be a bit of a journey, like a couple minutes worth of scenery that we would see of this magical world. But for the most part, it's going to be a straight shot to the castle because Grumph tore down the walls and he's just trying to get everybody. He's like, this is my place now.
Yeah, exactly. There's
Um,
and we got to introduce a couple of like new fun little like Muppety type things. Not Muppets, but I'm thinking like things for the puppeteers to play with. Like there should be, like there's a big place where there's like a tree that fell down, and all the roots of the tree like reach out and try and grab them, and almost like picture the bottom of a tree is like a big open mouth with like tentacles around the outside of it, and it's like trying to
oh,
pull them inside the trunk of the tree. Like that'd be pretty freaking creepy.
right. Now that would be cool. We could have I mean, we already saw the stone faces in the caves down below. Like, we could have stuff like that, like where they're passing by, sections and have like faces be like, beware, be like, oh, shut up, that type of thing. We could do little nods to the first movie with just like the things about the labyrinth. But yeah, to the point is like they get, they fight a couple of pitfalls, they make their way to the castle, and it's just everything about it should look wrong. Like there
Mhm.
should be like bad scaffolding like holding up part of the castle because like one of the towers fell. There should be like just like rope tie. Like there we go. The whole castle should be kind of leaning and
Yeah.
there's like rope tying it off to like a bunch of trees that are holding it up.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just all wrong.
Oh yeah. And there should be what were those characters called from Frog Rock? Was it the Doozers or the Dozers?
Hmm.
Uh,
The doozers, yeah.
there should be these like little doozer type characters that are like a little construction crew and like little miniature construct, and they're like putting like a wall back up, and then like they finally put the finishing touches on it. You see a little doozer like with this little like trowel like scraping the last little bit of like mortar into the brick, and then like the little foreman guy, he's just he claps like job well done, or whatever, however he communicates that, and like they're all like yay, like job well done, right as like a big cannonball smashes through the wall that they just rebuilt, and then you hear some goblins like up on the like there's like a balcony or turret, and they all just start laughing, and they turn like a cannon and they fire it in the other direction, and all the little doozers just like they go oh, and they like get back to work and they start building the wall again.
Exactly. And that I could picture that playing out. That's definitely some Henson business right there. So we have them like, they get there, there's all the chaos of like the goblins being goblins. They don't give a fuck. They're having fun. And like maybe the
Hmm.
front doors to the castle are just wide open.
Yep.
So they just kind of like walk right in. Like the goblins are, maybe like making faces at them or like laughing or like whispering and looking at them and like giggling like they know something that we don't. So they walk right in, and we see Grumph sitting on his throne, and they confront him. They're just
Hmm.
like, we're here to talk about what you've done to the labyrinth, and have him be like, who's this dead? Who is you to question my rule? I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest, that type of thing, like
Hmm.
pounding his chest, and have maybe like Sir Didymus, because he can't help himself, be like, hold your tongue, knave. He's like, do you not know who you are in the presence of? This is Sarah, queen of the goblins, defeater of Jareth. Like, he could go on this long, flowery speech, and have Grumph kind of look at her and grin and be like, oh, You're the one that has the last of his powers. I want those powers for me. And like maybe he can like slowly pry his fat ass out of the throne. Like he's got to pull a little bit. And like I'm picturing like the Vogons from
Yeah,
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, how
yeah,
they could barely fit through a
yeah.
door. It was kind of like pulls himself up and lumbers forward. And like maybe he like looks at her and he like sniffs. He's like, "You don't seem so special." And then he's like, "But something about you lot doesn't seem right. Away with them!" And like slams down on like the table or something, and like a fucking trap door opens and like drops him into an oubliette.
Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. I love it. Before we do that, let's reveal. Like you said that Grump said like, "Oh, you're the one who has the last of the power. Like I want that power." I can't do the accent. Sorry.
Yeah,
We should have him when he says that, or maybe Sarah, says like, like what power do you have? Like I defeated Jareth the Goblin King. You're no Goblin King. Like you're just a pretender on the throne. And then the Grump and his sort of thick. I guess that's like a Cockney accent. I'm not sure, but
yeah, kind of.
it's like he pulls out this little. It's like a little miniature, like little treasure chest, right? Little chest. He pulls it out, or he should bend over like with a lot of effort and heavy breathing, and like he fishes it out from
Right?
under like the throne, the chair, and he brings it
Yeah.
up and he opens it up, and inside is the like crystal balls, like the orbs that Jareth was
Oh yeah,
always
yeah.
like juggling. I don't remember if there was a certain amount of them, but I feel like it was three. And
Yeah, he always seemed to have three that he was juggling.
yeah, like three is a good number. And and maybe like yeah, inside he has like these three crystal balls, and they're kind of like shining. I don't know if we need to explain that, maybe Sarah has some of that. Like maybe one of the balls isn't as bright as the other. I don't know. Who cares? Like we don't need to get into a lot of detail. But basically, he shows that he has the power because he has the crystal balls. Not that he actually knows how to use them, or he's not really like a wizard or like a sorcerer like Jareth was. He just has the balls.
That's not a metaphor for nothing.
Of course not, right? And of course, somebody like Hoggle, who we established as like loving jewelry, jewels and baubles. Maybe have him just be like, "Ooh, oh, so pretty," and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like and Sarah has to be like, Hoggle, stop. Like it's like for a second there, Hoggle was almost kind of entranced just by the fact that yeah, Grump really does have, he's got the balls, he's got the power.
Got the balls.
um,
I love it.
yeah, and then yeah, exactly, like drop them into a trap door, and they fall into like this oubliette, and maybe there's like some creepy shit on the walls, like the helping hands from before that we can kind of like play around with, something real creepy, or we can make this one like real slimy, but it's like that sort of snotty play slime that you get with like like toys, like in the 80s they had like the slime pit
Mhm.
toys, so it's like this real nasty neon snotty kind of slime that's all in the pit at the bottom, and they're like all stuck in it, like almost like a quicksand. And then like eventually they kind of like one of them kind of falls out the bottom of it, and then like pulls the other down, and they're all covered in this like nasty slime, but they find themselves in like a tunnel like we saw before, when Sarah went in the oubliette in the first movie. It's sort of like these almost like sewers, right? They're kind of like under the city.
Mhm.
And then yeah, we have him down there, and of course, just kind of fast tracking a little bit. Like we got to have them like fight their way, like back to up to the castle, because of course Sarah's not gonna, she's not gonna give up now. She hasn't come all this way just to give up now. So she wants to go back and like confront Grumpf. So we can kind of have him go through and again encounter some dangers. But now we're in like the underworld, so to speak, right? We talked about things being creepier.
Okay.
Like this is an opportunity for like, let's get kind of dark down here. It's not like a maze so much as it's almost like a video game where it's like one challenge after the next that's going to get like harder and harder until they can escape.
Okay. I kind of like that. Like, let me just see if I'm picturing this correctly. You'd mentioned like the slime and stuff. Now, you said at the bottom of the pit, right? So they fall and they land in this big like goop of slime.
Yeah, I don't really, in my head I was picturing it was almost like the slime was like it's like in the it's like the pit is like think like a well, right? So it's kind of like in the
Yeah,
pit, like the helping hands are on the side of it, and this one just has all
yeah.
the slime in it. But like they would eventually like fall out the bottom, like the slime doesn't go all the way to the floor of the tunnel. I mean, we can change it; it doesn't matter. That's just kind of how I pictured.
No, no, I just wanted to make sure I was picturing it correctly because at first I was when you said instead of the helping hands, I was picturing like slime strands like going across the well, and then like
Hmm.
them getting caught up in it, almost like Mario Brothers with the fungus. Like
Yeah,
that's
that
kind of what I
works.
was picturing.
Yeah,
But
exactly. That
but I
works.
like the idea of like the pit of slime at the bottom, where it's almost like the devil's snare in the first Harry Potter movie,
There
where
you go.
they get enveloped by it, but then get pooped out the bottom like
Yeah,
into a safe place. So it's like I kind of like that idea of them getting like hitting the green goo and then like panicking because it's like holy crap, like what do we do? And they're sinking like quicksand, and then one by one Sarah watches all of her friends like get sucked up, and then she's just like slowly getting pulled down and then just falls out the bottom, and it's like, oh, you're safe.
yeah.
Or are you?
Oh, exactly. And we could give like Wubby something to do right here. Like, what if, like, yeah, while they're all kind of sinking, what if Wubby like jumps off her shoulder and like almost like dives in and starts like burrowing or swimming, and she's all like, like Wubby, stop, come back, and then yeah, they all start sinking, and then she suddenly falls out the bottom, and I don't know. We can just have Didymus explain like it was our little savior here who dug all the way through to the bottom and like I don't know and just dug a hole through it or something. Again, I can't do the dialogue of these characters. It's so outside my comfort zone to talk like these characters talk. But it's like
Yeah.
just give it. We know what the other characters have done and like they've all sort of helped in their own way in the first movie and in this one. Wabi's just kind of like been a victim and then a tag along. But like let him dig through the slime.
Yeah, let him show them the way.
So they're down at this bottom of this like well thing, and I think it should almost be like it's another labyrinth under the labyrinth or under the Goblin City because they look around in the, well at first I think it should just be like really dark and creepy like a yucky a yucky sewer that's just like
Right.
they can't really see anything. And then maybe Flamelin just, I don't know, maybe he like flicks his thumb like a lighter and like lights his thumb on fire to create like a torch or something like that.
Right.
and and then it's like, and then the flame lights up everything. And it's not just like one tunnel. It's like they're in a tunnel and it's, maybe 10, 12 feet away. It branches, but it doesn't just go in two directions. It goes in like six directions, like up and down and to the left, and then they like turn and look the other way, and it's like a water slide straight down into like a pool of slime or like water or something, and then there's like four tunnels off of that, and the like maybe I don't know like if they look up or whatever, but it's like everywhere they look, it's like there's fucking tunnels everywhere. Like where do we go?
I'm imagining a sewer system created by Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like tunnels of varying sizes and shapes, like shooting off in every fucking direction possible. And
Yeah.
with Flamelin, since he's basically a head on two arms, like if he would stand on one arm and like flick his thumb to make a torch, I imagine like Hoggle or like even Sarah picking him up by the other arm and carrying him as a
Yeah,
torch.
yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah, and they start they just like I guess they just like pick a direction like maybe what is it what's his name I keep forgetting his name all the fucking time Didymus. I don't know why I
Yeah,
imagine
Pseudonymous.
did we talk about whether he brought Aloysius with him? I don't remember now, but I'm assuming he was riding Aloysius. Is he down here like the dog?
Yeah, I mean, let's. I mean, it would seem weird without Aloysius. So yeah, it's Didymus and Aloysius. Even if we didn't say it earlier, we're retroactively putting that.
Yeah. I feel like Didymus would want to take charge, like like he knows exactly where they're going, like he can trust his nose or something.
Well, yeah, because in the first movie, he's like, my nose has not failed me, So I can see him being like, I know the way, follow me, and he's just like sniffing at the air and like leading the charge.
Yeah. Well, and we should have
But like,
we should have Aloysius like not he like does not at all want to go the way that Didymus wants him to go, and he's like, come Aloysius, and then you see Aloysius like run down a different tunnel, and then Didymus is like, well, yes, of course, like yeah, this is the way I wanted to go,
But I also feel like because, Didymus is a little bit of a fuck up when it comes to the whole being able to smell great. Remember, he lived in the bog of eternal stench and he's like, it smells fragrant. It's like, no, I don't think you could trust that nose, buddy. So I feel like he would get them lost.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's like with all these crazy tunnels, I'm almost picturing like a Scooby Doo moment, like one of those Scooby Doo chase scenes where they go through one door and pop out a different door, and then through another door and pop out. It'd kind of be like that with tunnels. Like they'd be going down one tunnel and then like turn left, turn right, turn left again, and then they wind up back at the start. And Didymus is like, wait, well, nope, this way, and they go off in another direction, and the same thing, back and forth tunnel, switching. And we could see this gives us a lot of time for like Henson, tomfoolery. Like we could have like weird little rat creatures like running out of the way. We could have like, maybe like some of those the stone faces. Like they could make like faces out of like cobblestone and the sewer tunnel walls. Like we could do all sorts of weird shit like that. But the point is, they're stuck. They're kind of getting stuck in a loop. They're going all over the fucking place, walking back and forth, and they keep winding up back where they started. So how are they going to find their way out of the second labyrinth?
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, that's perfect. I don't know why. The only thing I can think of, I was like what should be down in these sewers? And the only thing I can think of is at one point they like lift a torch because they hear like water rushing like over their heads, and they look up, and the ceiling is all these tubes that look almost like a hamster like habit trail, almost like plastic, and it's just this nasty like sewer water. But then
Ew.
in the water there's like some kind of like, I don't know, like round like egg looking things that's like flowing with the water, and then Sarah takes a closer look, and one of the egg things like turns and looks at her, and it's a fucking eyeball, and then all the other egg looking things are like, they stop moving and they stare down at them like a bunch of eyeballs in like plastic tubes in the ceiling.
Oh, that's fucking creepy.
I don't know where I pictured that from, but I was just like, that'd be creepy as fuck.
That feels like something we would see in the Dark Crystal, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
we should. I feel like we should leave these guys for a little while and go and cut back to Ludo. See what like, because we have to have a threat here. Like obviously, Grump is a big threat. He's destroying the land, and like Ludo and like some of the other denizens were protecting those that didn't want to fight. So we had like the goblins that didn't want to fight. We'd probably have the old wise man with the bird on his hat. There's some of the fireys. I imagine like just all sorts of weird little creatures, more creatures that look like Wabi, like just random Muppets. Just give Jim Henson Studios something to do. Like, hey, create weird shit and put them in this room.
Right?
But like, I feel like, because Grumph, he wants to rule the land, like he would be going after the only resistance force. So like, what if we cut back to Ludo and the gang? Ludo's still doing his like that slow song that's like keeping the rock golems up and keeping the rock wall in front of the cave solid and all that. But what if like suddenly the whole fucking front of the cave explodes open? Like we see Ludo doing that, and then just like boom, we see the rock golems like fall apart, rubble go flying everywhere, and almost see like a POV shot from Ludo's point of view. Like I'm picturing him standing kind of on like not quite an altar, but like a little raised platform in the center of the cave, like
Hmm.
arms raised up, like kind of doing the slow rhythmic hum that he was doing, like I said, like the Mystics in Dark Crystal. So he's keeping the rocks going, but then when everything explodes and like falls in on him, I'm picturing like a POV shot of him looking out as like the dust and rubble is clearing, and maybe we see like one of those big fucking iron golems that was at the gate of the Goblin City, and we saw like one of the mini ones earlier, that the fucking worm destroyed.
Yeah, yeah.
But we could see like Grumph and these big like steel golems and a bunch of mini goblins like all come running in. So like as the rubble is like falling in around Ludo, like we see the POV of like Grumph look down at him and smile as he like grabs up some of the screaming little goblins that didn't want to fight, and he starts like lumbering back to the castle, like he basically takes hostages, and then have like the rocks like fall in completely on Ludo, and like boom, black screen.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, having like a little bit of a setback. I think is a good idea to like add some conflict. Yeah, I like that. I don't know. I don't know if there's an opportunity for it here, but you mentioned the old wise man with the like the bird hat. I think it'd be really, really funny if in this situation where there actually like was something to do and not just the old man sitting around with the hat being bored. But what if the
Mhm.
bird hat has become like the leader of the group? Or, so like when the walls cave in, you just see the wise man is just like asleep and the bird man is just like, to arms, like everyone to your positions,
Like he's controlling the wise man's body.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, given this mission, it's like the bird is the brain, the bird
Yeah,
brain of the operation.
that's awesome. Just picturing the whole time, like the wise man snoring and like the bird making him hold up like a scimitar kind of sword. He's like, "How about you?"
Yeah,
Just like
exactly.
fighting back one of the goblins.
Right. Oh God, I think it would be funny if we saw like this, like the big mech goblin like robot thing, whatever it was, just to mix it up a little bit. As soon as you mentioned that, like busting through the wall again, I don't know where these like thoughts come from, but like weird connections into my head. I know you're not like a big Legend of Zelda guy, but do you know the boss from the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword called Koloktos? Do you know who that is?
No, never played that one.
Yeah, Koloktos is, but hands down, like the best boss in that game, and in the best dungeon in the game as well. But it's like an automaton, right? It's like this ancient looking robot that looks like it's made out of like brass and like very steampunk looking, but also has kind of a Middle Eastern vibe, like very sort of non-specific, but it has 6 arms, and every arm has like a scimitar or some other weapon. But not that we need to have 6 arms on this robot, but what's cool about Galactos is when you fight it, it has these 2 legs, and then the top part of its body from the waist up just spins around and follows you as you're like running around the room. So you're constantly the top half of Galactos is spinning, and then when it goes to attack you, it spins like a top, or like what's that He-Man character that's like Cyclone or something that like spins the top half of the action
Oh
figure.
yeah, yeah, Cyclone.
Anyway, I don't know why. I just think that would be really funny if like they smash through the wall with this like mech goblin where the top half of it is just spinning with its arms out. Like that would be a really cool
Yes.
way to like smash into the cave.
It should have like at least, well, 6 or 4, just multiple arms, but at least 2 of the arms should have like huge like hammer fists, like big like war hammers,
Hmm.
and that's what it uses to like clobber the wall open, like spins through, like just like basically being a giant battering ram.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that would be great. It would just be a really, really cool visual and something big and destructive enough that you wouldn't just be like, well, hey, like, where's the worm to take this one down again? Like, this one is a much bigger
Right.
threat. Like, this is like, Grumpf built this like, death machine to come and like smash whole buildings down. Like that would be a really cool thing to see.
Absolutely. So yeah, so like we definitely want to have like I really like that visual. I'm looking up Galactus right now. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's a really cool looking robot.
right.
Um, but, but yeah, no, I like that visual that's like breaking the walls open with these giant spinning like the giant spinning upper body, but it's got these 2 hammer fists.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Um,
But yeah, anyway, so wait, from here, what we probably should cut back to the sewer, right? So we cut
yeah,
to the resistance group with Ludo, like fade to black. Like let's cut back to the sewer, and I'm assuming that they're still lost, but I think they need to have some kind of a threat or a setback too.
oh, absolutely. So like I think like we should come back to them as they're like arriving back again at the starting point, like after doing this however many times, and like have Sarah, be like, this is hopeless, and Hog will be like, enough with you leading, like he's arguing
Hmm.
with Didymus, like have them like bickering back and forth. Sarah's just frustrated, Wabi's like hanging on her back, looking around. And then while this whole little like bickering scene, like I'm picturing multiple voices talking over each other, behind
Hmm.
them in one of the shadowy tunnels, we should see like 2 big eyes open, and like very cartoony, like black tunnel, and then 2 big yellow eyes like open in the background, and then like 6 other little ones open all
Ooh.
around it, and then have like this, you maybe like hear like a rumbling movement, like a kind of like grumble, and then have them turn and look and see this big glowing mouth, like a big red glowing mouth open and just roar, and like all this spittle come flying out. And then you see giant, like almost like too many legs. Like it's not quite a spider, but like imagine if Jim Henson's like the guys who made the Dark Crystal, like
Yeah.
that design team, made a multiple-limbed, furry, insect-like creature.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm picturing
nice.
almost like cross a centipede and a spider. So like
Yeah.
multiple segmented parts, like a big giant furry ass and like maybe a segmented middle section and like way too many legs. Like not like
Hmm.
8 legs, not 6 legs. Let's have it have like an odd number like 13. Like
Yeah,
it's just got
perfect.
like too many legs and there's not an even number and they're like spindly with like little thorny hairs all over them and it just starts like slapping at the walls, like almost like piercing the stone with its little like spindly legs, and starts dragging its lumbering body toward them out of the tunnel. And when we finally see it, like it fills the whole fucking tunnel like the cleaners. So and
Oh
it just
yeah.
starts roaring. So now they're gonna panic and fucking run, you know. So now you've
Yeah.
got this big fucking thing sliding down the tunnel after him, roaring, and again it fills the whole tunnel. So we could have it like spiraling around upside down, like
Yeah.
it's just pulling itself frantically after them.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that visual of like it moves forward by spiraling through the tunnel,
Hmm.
like a corkscrew, but like a living
Yeah.
corkscrew. And it's like, oh my God, that's so creepy because you wouldn't even be able to like jump over it or whatever because it's got legs going in every direction, and it has to have like again like a weird odd number, like it has 5 mandibles on its face, and it's like
Right.
just so fucking creepy. Yeah, that'd be fucking great.
it's I'm picturing I'm picturing this in Muppet form, and it's giving me the heebie-jeebies.
Right? Yeah, exactly in Muppet form. Yeah, because the Muppets have that like really interesting like flocked felt texture a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like or like you could really go like shag carpet with it, like Cookie Monster.
And that's the
Ugh.
thing. There was always an unsettling like weirdness about Muppet monsters. About any
Yes.
time it was like a monster, but like it was meant to be creepy and not meant to be like silly, but
Hmm.
meant to be creepy. But they're a Muppet. Like again, those weird. I know they got a name, but the weird beetle dudes from the Dark Crystal. Like those things freaked me the fuck out. The sound they made when they moved, like the way they moved, I didn't like anything about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah. So of course that's gotta be like run, and now our group, like they just take off running. There's like what, 5 of them, right? We got Flamelin, Sarah, Hoggle,
Sir
what's
Didymus and Aloysius,
yep, and
and then Wubby.
Wubby's with them. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so yeah, they gotta just like take off running. Like they're trying to stay together, but they don't know where to go. And it's like turn this way, turn that way. But it's not the Scooby Doo like silliness anymore. Now it's just like they're trying to like like there's got to be something like a room or something or like a drop off or a ladder, like something to get away, and they just hear this thing coming behind them. And it's also like the walls got to start shaking and there's like dust falling off the ceiling, like stuff like that. Like this thing is like it's coming for them. It would just be like that sort of existential terror we have to instill into kids watching this movie where it's like,
Right.
like make it feel like it could just come through the walls at any moment.
I feel like they should get out of one of the tunnels, like into like a much bigger like kind of like an antechamber where it's like you see like a much bigger room with like water runoff and there's and tunnels shooting in every direction. So like again deeper into the tunnel labyrinth,
Hmm.
but have them like come out and like panic, look around, like which tunnel do we go down? But the thing, the spider creature, this is where we should see its full body. Like it comes spiraling out of that tunnel into the big antechamber, and we could see it's a hell of a lot bigger than we thought it was. Like again,
Hmm.
the front half has all those weird legs and mandibles, and then the whole back half could be like pale and grub like, just
Ugh.
like writhing around all slimy, and it's just like so it like spins out and like maybe it circles up the wall and like drops down from the ceiling and hisses at him again. So let's have them like run into a tunnel that's clearly too small for it.
Hmm.
So it's like they see the water, maybe the water is coming from that tunnel. So
Okay.
they're like,
Yeah.
this way, so they go running toward the tunnel because they're like the water's got to come from somewhere. And as they run in, like the thing slams against the hole, like the opening to that tunnel, and it like breaks part of it and it's like snapping its jaws and like reaching its little spindly legs in there, but it can't quite get at them. But they like so they're going through it, but it's pushing its way in, like it's breaking more and more of the tunnel as it's coming toward them.
Hmm.
They get through and they find maybe like bars like blocking, but it leads outside. Like there's water running in from like
Mm.
above them, but it's like this leads out, this leads out, so we got to get out. So they have them like start kicking at the bars while the thing is slowly getting closer and closer and closer. So like maybe Aloysius or Sir Didymus is like standing like was it behind me? Like they're all behind him, and he's whacking at him with his little stick, like hitting the legs as it's reaching at him. But eventually, like they break open the gate and they climb out and they climb outside, and boom, they're at the bog of eternal stench.
Oh, yes, that's pretty perfect. Yeah, where like this water that was flowing into the sewer was some kind of like a rivulet coming from up above. Like it wasn't the bog, but yeah, like they jump out and it's like they're right on the edge of the bog, but it's like if they had taken one more step, they would have just like fell right in. Like they jump in a panic out of this tunnel, thinking that they're home free, and it's just like, oh my god, like what's that stench, you know?
Right.
But it can't be the same like the same area where like Didymus came from, because to him it would be like, oh, this is home. I know exactly where to go. It should be
Right.
that not even maybe not it's not even exactly the bog. Maybe it's just that they jump out and they see this it's like a creek or something, and or maybe actually they're not they're technically outside, but they're still like in the castle. So they jump out this window. Across from them is like a castle wall, and it's like a moat. Right, so it's like there's this
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
moat of this like liquid, and it's just like, oh my god, what is that? And of course it's the same liquid that like flows into the bog, but I guess the spider creature would like start trying to climb out the window behind them. Like you see the arms come out, and they're just like on this like what like a 1 foot wide kind of like ledge on the outside of the castle wall, and they start like having to sidle down like the wall. You like it's almost like in a video game, like put your back up against the wall and like sidle
Yep.
down. And like it's a curved wall, so they don't even really know where they're going. They're just trying to get around to the other side. Like they've got to get somewhere, and they when they go around the corner, like I feel like we should kind of put them back into the labyrinth, like of the tunnels, the sewer tunnels. Like this was almost like the false hope of like, hey, we're free, but no, we're not. Like we got out that way. There's nowhere else to go, but we see that the bog water, this moat, it flows into like a tunnel, and there's nowhere else to go. They can't go back the other way to see if there's another place to escape because the spider's coming out the window. So they have to just keep going. So then they go into this tunnel, and like now it's even worse because they're sidling along this little ledge, but they have to kind of crouch down, or at least the taller ones like Sarah have to kind of crouch down to fit in there, and there's like 4 or 5 of them like trying to creep along this edge, and one of them has to notice, maybe Hoggle notices that, once again, there's like something moving in the water. And at first they don't think anything of it because it's like those weird like eyeballs in the tubes. But no, something starts to rise up out of this bog like muck, and they're like well into the tunnel. And it's like, well, what do we do? Like, what is that? Just keep going, keep going. And something is rising up, and then something else next to it, and something else next to it. And you start to see that it's like corpses, like skeletal corpses are standing
Oh.
up out of the moat of eternal stench, and like they lift their it the all the corpses lift their hands toward our characters like in a very classic like zombies. They start like moaning and coming at them, but they're like these muck zombies out of the bog.
Oh yeah, and they should totally look like Muppets, like
Yeah.
some kind of like if Jim Henson created emaciated like corpses, how would they look?
Right.
They would have that weird felt texture to them.
Right. And none of them have eyeballs, because if the smart kids can make the connection, they'll realize that all of the eyeballs that were in the tunnels we saw before in the little tubes were like from these things. And maybe
Oh,
I don't know how we can communicate it, or if it would even be possible, but what if it's like the corpses are coming for their eyes because their own eyeballs got washed away in the tunnels somewhere, and like, they're not zombies coming for brains, they're coming for eyes.
oh, well, we could have that explained away simply because, like, remember Hoggle in the first movie, he kind of explains like, it's the bog of eternal stench, it's an oubliette. It's like he was kind of like telling Sarah the stuff about the stuff about the labyrinth. So what if when he sees them, like he could look terrified and say something like, it's the eyeless ones or so, something along those lines. And he's like, run, they're like, what are they? And he's like, just keep moving. They're cursed. They don't have eyes of their own. So they take those or they take any that they can find, something
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh God, that's terrifying. Because again, these movies that we watched as kids, they would do shit like that where they would just introduce some kind of like fantastical thing and give a quick explanation so your childlike mind would be like, what the fuck does that mean?
Right.
And you would just sit there and like dwell on it for days, like, oh God. Like when Meg Mucklebones popped up out of the water in Legend and she told Tom Cruise she planned on eating him, and I'm like, wait, what? Why does she want to eat him? Like, what?
Right.
Freaked me the fuck out as a kid.
Exactly. All these like creepy ass like fucking like or even when Artax like sinks into the I forget what the
Yeah.
swamp is called, and it's like just out of
Swamp of Sorrows.
there you go, just out of nowhere it's like, oh, you like that pretty white horse? No, I'm sorry. Like it's like, holy shit, like of all the things they could have picked, like they picked the purest symbol in the whole movie, like every yeah, not to be stereotypical, but I figure like every like little girl in the 80s, who wanted like a pretty white horse or a unicorn or something. It's like between Legend and then Everending Story, like I'm sorry, you're never getting that pony when you grow up.
No. And before one of our listeners corrects me, it is the Swamp of Sadness. I'm sorry, Swamp of Sorrows is from World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Hey man, it's all some nerd shit, right? These fucking nerds.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. One last detail. I feel like we're kind of like leaning into like eyeball horror too, right? Because this
Right.
arachnopede type monster like had a bunch of eyes too. But I feel like as soon as Hoggle is like, they come for your eyes, like the eyes of anyone they can find. Flamelin should take his own eyeballs out and like hide him in like his armpits,
Like he's pocketing his valuables.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God, that's fucking great. I love it.
Oh, man.
And that's one of those little details that we should not draw attention to. It should be like while Hoggle's explaining it and Sarah's reacting and Didymus is reacting, we just see Flamelin pop his eyes out.
Yes.
And like maybe he like tucks him in the cheek of his mouth, just like just
Yeah,
kinda
exactly.
hides
In
him.
his mouth. That's good. Yeah, it's like he's just like, you ain't gonna get my eyes. Oh god, that's so funny.
Oh God.
Oh shit.
But
Okay.
so yeah, so now they're running from these creepy ass zombies. I think that like so where they are now, they're back in the tunnels? I thought they were, or are they at a moat?
It's like I'm picturing this as like it's a moat, but it's not like necessarily on the outside of the castle. It's almost like running in between towers or buildings in this like castle complex, so they get out of this window and they're on this little ledge, but on the other side of them is like another stone wall that shoots up to like a tower up above them, so there's not really anywhere for them to go, so they have to go along the edge of this ledge, and they're going into this tunnel, almost like a, I don't know, like a canal or something that this like bog liquid goes into, and these like eyeball corpses or whatever you call them, they're rising up out of this bog water. Some of them are trying to like climb up onto the ledge behind him, and there's like more and more coming up, and our characters are like rushing down the ledge trying to figure out like, where is this going, like there's got to be some way out of here. And as they're
Mhm.
rushing along, it's like there are so many of these corpses coming up out of this bog. It's like the liquid was like pure corpse, like holy shit, there's like so many of them, um but yeah, they should just get to some almost like a service entrance or something, like if this were like a realistic building, there might be like a place,
Mhm.
a way for some like worker to get down there, so they get to a door or a ladder or something. But it can't be easy to get out. It has something that's
Right.
locked, or like a tall ladder or something. But let's give them a way out of the tunnel, but something that's going to slow them down, because like the Walking Dead or the Sludgy Dead are like coming for them.
I think it should be like a tall, like spindly, winding ladder, like going up into the darkness. So they're like, because I'm picturing like the again the way it would be filmed with them climbing up and like looking back and just seeing this tunnel end in like this murky water and having like all of these sludgies. I'm almost picturing like if Jim Henson made Tarman,
Yeah, there you go.
like
Yeah, yeah.
sludgy, gross, drippy, like zombies, and they're like all looking up at them, like with their hollow, sunken, no eye holes, like just it's gross. But like start like have them slowly like slapping their hands onto the rungs and like climbing up after them, and they get to the top, and there's a door there, and Hoggle starts like fumbling with his massive ring of keys, and it's like, I know I have the key here somewhere, and like they're like, hurry up, and they look down, and like the zombies are getting closer and closer, and again, Flamelin, he has his eyes in his mouth, so he can't see anything, so maybe he's just like, what's happening, like, and he's like freaking
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
because he's like, Sarah's holding on to him,
Hmm.
but he's got his little dangling arm legs like hanging down, he's like, what's going on, like freaking out. So then maybe like have Hoggle, he finally gets the key in, he gets the right key, he opens the door right as one of the zombies grab Flamelin, and have him like panic and just like pop out some fire, like he almost like his entire body ignites for a second, he's like,
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
but it should light up the zombie and have it fall backward into the other zombies, making like farty gross bog sounds, like,
Oh.
but it's that like the fire's catching, and like each one of the zombies start catching on fire as our group like gets up out of the door, and we should see like as they're climbing up out of the door is now on a wall, it's not actually on the floor, so they're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
falling out sideways even
yeah.
though they were just like upside down, and like they slam the door because we see like the fire like shooting up, they slam the door, and then we should pan out to the opening of the tunnel and just have this green cloud like like a big fart cloud comes out of there.
Yes, that's awesome. Like they're methane fart to zombies that we just like
Right.
we lit them up like, and it should be this like chain reaction of like this farting noise like, and then like pop 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 going
Yeah.
down the tunnel. That'd be great.
Like it's like when you see in like in an old western when they have the mine riddled with dynamite. And
Yeah,
explosion after explosion after explosion leading to a big explosion.
yeah. Oh, I love that. It's like, and then just this like this huge like green cloud just farts out. Oh, I love that.
And like when they're all like they're all laying there on the floor like after falling out sideways, have like Flamelin pop his eyes back in and be like, "Ooh, pardon me."
Yeah, perfect, perfect.
But yeah, oh, dude, just as like a side note, if these are bog zombies, like we talk about like the bog of eternal stench. What if that's what the bog of eternal stench is? It's just corpse water.
Oh,
Like that,
nice.
all the bubbles, that all the farties, it was just gas escaping, rotting corpses at the bottom of the bog. Like that would make Jareth even more fucked up.
Yeah, right. I don't know how we would
It's like,
explain that like in the context of the movie, but it would be fun if we could find a way to like figure it out, like squeeze it in there somewhere.
right, even if it's just like a behind the scenes thing that it's one of the like the listeners of the podcast will know.
Nice, nice. Okay, so let's. I feel like we're kind of like nearing like a climax, right? Like we got him back in the
Yeah,
castle. Do we want there? Do we want like? What's the next obstacle, or
I
should there be another one? We just had a bunch of shit in the sewers.
yeah, no, I think we're getting close to the end here. I think we should just like lean right into the final confrontation, the showdown. So I think like once they now they've fallen out, from the quote unquote servant's entrance or worker entrance to the sewer, they've fallen out. I think like as soon as they land, we should hear like a big boom,
Hmm.
have them look around, and like it should be like right after, no, right after Flamelin says, "Oh, pardon me," from the fart, we should hear like a big boom and him look around and be like, "That one wasn't me," just kind of like,
Nice.
and then have like look around and like hear another boom, and you see like soot and like dust fall from the ceiling, and have them go running out to see what the hell's going on. And like maybe they're passing through areas of the castle, like there's the kitchens, and we can have like little old lady goblins, but like still in full armor but aprons,
Yeah.
being like, oh, like running around like with like buns and shit. Like
Yeah, perfect.
like so they're running through like the crowd of goblins, and they make their way out to like where the throne room is. And maybe we see like Grumph and a bunch of his goblins fighting off a bunch of the stone golems. And like Ludo, Ludo's a little banged up, but he's in there like roaring, leading a charge, where we see like the stone golems, and we see like the other goblins, like the goblins that were under his protection. Maybe they have like stone armor on, so they got like big like boulder pauldrons and like a stone on their head, like belted under their chin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, perfect. I love it. Yeah, like Ludo to the rescue. Like I think we can just sort of we should have our characters like have a reunion with Ludo. Like they get out, they just they rush to the battle. It's like, Ludo, you're here, and then I don't know, the wise man had, or what, some other character can just explain like what happened. They carried off all of our our friends, and like we couldn't let that stand. It was time for the final thrust of our resistance, and so they just we just explain that that's how they got here. They've come to rescue everybody. And of course it's like we don't necessarily have to show that part, because now we're just in like heated battle. It's similar to the first or the real Labyrinth movie, where it's like this sort of like silly like Muppet battle, but there's like
oh
walls
yeah.
falling down, and we got to have like some like you said, like with the old ladies, like some silly stuff going on in the background. And you see like little pixies attacking somebody, like like little fucking, I don't know, like like rats climbing all over like one of like the good guy goblin characters, and whatever, just all this sort of business in the background.
We should have like, so while the bird hat is explaining like have all the the our gang run out behind Ludo and the others, and like the bird hat guy should be sword fighting with like three goblins while looking back over at them talking. And again, remember, the body is snoozing away, like the body's snoring, but like one arm is out just fighting three separate goblins with a sword. He's explaining the whole ordeal, and he's just like, have at you, he keeps doing that. And then like we should have like a big goblin come lumbering up toward him and like raise its club, and have him drop the sword, grab the side of the old man's robe, pull it open, and a bunch of like pissed off fairies go flying out like a swarm of bees into the big goblin's face, or like the big troll's face, and he's still explaining the story, like, we have to get back our fellows, like, and he pulls the thing open, they swarm out and they bite him, he's like, and like falls over clutching at his eyes as these little fairies are biting his head. And the bird guy just grabs another sword and continues fighting, and he's like back to the battlefield, and he like runs off.
Yeah,
um
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and of course, I feel like Grump should be there too. Like he should be out in the melee. Like he's the kind of king that isn't gonna stay on the throne. Like he's out there,
oh no.
fighting everybody. And maybe he took one of those crystal ball things like that he had in the chest before. Like he maybe he has one of them on him somewhere. Like maybe he mounted it on like his helmet, or he's wearing it like on a necklace or something. Like it's sort of like his like symbol of power. He's got one of these things with him. um or I don't know, maybe he incorporates it into his weapon that makes the weapon stronger. I don't know exactly, but like we should. I think it'll help too to kind of make it obvious that this is who Grumph is, because there's like all this chaos and all these different goblins wearing armor, but the guy with the crystal ball and the who's really big, obviously that's Grump. And I feel like we gotta have Grump, like he's gonna want to just come directly for maybe Ludo. Like maybe Ludo is a good person for him to almost have like a duel with, because Grump
Yeah.
is this big, he's a bully, right? He's the guy, like he's the guy at the bar who's gonna like pick a fight, and and like take your beer and like push you away from the pool table kind of a guy,
Right.
and Ludo's, he's soft at heart. I mean, yeah, he's here, he brought the army, but at the end of the day, it's just he just wants to be friends, you know.
Right.
So and
So
so go ahead.
oh, I got it. I got it. So we should have this whole like fight going on, right? And we could see Grumpf. Like we don't even really need to show the orbs like out. We've already shown the chest that he keeps them in, like a little tiny treasure chest
Hmm.
that's under his throne. What if he's wearing it like a fucking fanny pack on his armor? Like
Okay,
he
yeah.
has the chest like belted onto him, like it's giving him power. But yeah, like have him fighting, but he's like throwing the golems around. He's clubbing them with his giant club. Sarah and the others like join the fight. They're fighting off the goblins. What if he grabs one of those? Remember the little they were like cannons, but they had feet, not the
Oh yeah.
cannonball guys, but the actual like cannon like walked up onto the battlefield and then had like a machine gun turret and like
Hmm.
a big cannon on it. What if he grabs one of those and just starts using it like a fucking Gatling gun trying to shoot at Ludo? And then Ludo, like a bunch of like golems like surround him, creating like an earth shield, and we just see like the bullets like ping 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 ping, and then like he runs out of ammo and like he throws the goblin aside and you hear like oh because it's still alive. And then the rock golems slide out of the way and Ludo just like growls at Grumpf and like the two of them just like fucking Hulk and the thing like collide, just like fist and fit like pushing back each other, fighting. um and again, like you're gonna have the goblins fighting off Hoggle and Sir Didymus and all that, and during the struggle, like we could have like Grumpf and Ludo like bashing at each other, hitting each other. During the struggle, the frickin' chest should like either fall off or maybe like Ludo grabs it and tears it away and throws it, something to like freak Grumpf out to be like, oh shit, like I lost my power, even though maybe that's not how he has his power. He just assumes it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We should. Okay. Yeah. We should have the. Let's have the. Sorry. I thought just occurred to me, and I'm like in real time trying to like piece it together because I had like a fun
Mhm.
idea. Yeah. So definitely the chest. I feel like the chest should come off somehow, get knocked off, and I feel like it should spill. Like let's have it break open. I feel like again, I had this idea where I think I might know something cool to do, but let's have it spill open, or at least one of them falls out, like I mean, making it obvious what it is, but also even have Grump be like, oh oh shit, oh okay, so I'm gonna put two ideas together. So again,
Okay.
Ludo's not really much of a fighter. I could see Ludo taking Grump down, but I can't really see him, like pounding him into oblivion. It would be
Right.
more of like he would want him to submit. So what if like Grumpf goes for like the fatal blow. He's got Ludo on the ropes. He like lifts up his big club or whatever he's got, and he goes for the fatal blow. And then right at that moment, a fucking arrow shoots down, shoots the string or chain or whatever that has the chest on. The chest falls off and like falls open, like spills open, and then Grump like drops his club, like he lifted it over his head, he drops it like behind himself, and he's like, "Oh, my pretties," and like goes for it, and then the camera moves over, and there's the fucking worm. The worm showed up for like the last minute save, right? And
Yes.
maybe have Sarah sees the whole thing, and she's like, "Yay, you're our hero," and he's like, "Nah, I'm just a worm."
Nice.
And because I was thinking it was like I love that idea, but I was thinking I want to kind of spill these balls because let's have Hoggle now just be like, ooh, like gems, pretties, jewelry, because he always kind of had an obsession. And let's have now
Yeah.
he's gonna go and try to grab one or all of them. Of course, Grumpf is trying to grab them because now you've like spilled the symbol at the very least, if not real power, but the symbol of power on the ground, and like characters are grasping for it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we should have them like struggling for it, but let's have during all of this, like, have Sarah kind of looking around, like kind of scanning the battlefield. Like we're getting again the POV. She's our POV character of the stranger in the strange land. So she's looking around. We're seeing chaos. We see like Grumph. Maybe we could do some kind of comical shit, like where he's running after one of the baubles and like his big toe kicks it. And he's like, oh no, no, and he like keeps running after it, like it's rolling away from him. Have Hoggle
Hmm.
being kind of like entranced by one, and then in the background we see Wabi, and he grabs one of the orbs and he like looks back at Sarah, and he gets this big devious grin, like this big like
Mm.
evil Muppet grin, and slowly turns into like an emaciated, like almost zombie Jareth. Like he's been
Oh,
like, he hasn't had, like, picture Mum Ra to Mum Ra the Ever Living, like,
nice. Okay,
like
yeah.
it's just this like decrepit old Jareth, almost like when he was in the bird costume, like,
Hmm.
how he looked all kind of hunched over. He's like that, but he smiles and like holds up the ball, like he has his fucking power back, and have her be like,
Nice.
no, the whole time, and then we can have the worm shoot the bauble,
Okay,
the
yeah.
bauble explode, and have Jareth be like pissed off, and just have the worm like look at Sarah and nod and continue back into the battle. So it's like we get a two for save,
Yeah.
because again, the rule of threes, he did it three
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think it's funny to have like this big like holy shit moment, and make it completely anticlimactic.
Yeah.
That feels very Muppety to me.
Yeah. It does. It does. It does. But at the same time,
Mhm.
I think okay, so I love the reveal. Okay, I love this. I love the reveal that Jareth was there the whole time because, of course, he was there at the beginning. He was the whole reason that Sarah knew to go back to the labyrinth. Bringing him back is fucking perfect. Like he was, secret. He was secretly along with them the whole time. Um,
Mhm.
but what if I feel like he should grab like he has one or two of these orbs, and this is going to be like his big like villain moment, like return to power, like Moha, I have returned, like or maybe he had two of them and now he only has one, or whatever, because
Right.
the worm knocked the other one out. But it's like now he's like, I told you, Sarah, I just needed my power back, like I'll return peace and order to the Goblin Kingdom. And I feel like the reason I wanted Hoggle to get the orb because I thought, yeah, he likes pretty things, but if Hoggle had the power, it would be a really cool turnaround moment for him to like go from being this like cowardly, sniveling servant type to, well, oh, like, well, now, I have the power, and he's the kind of person who, you know, he probably could be in charge. I mean, all the other goblins are like weird little, they're like little kids or creatures, they're not really like
Right.
thinking, reasoning people. And it would be a cool story arc if Hoggle got the power. But now that you're mentioning Jareth coming back, like let's have it where Jareth is like, haha, I've got my power back, and he starts to almost like it's like his flesh is filling out and his clothes are repairing themselves. A sort of like reverse, claymation kind of a thing, like the opposite of the characters who rot into dust in like Indiana Jones movies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But okay, so now it's like, okay, now it's all coming in a different direction, but I love this. I feel like, have Jareth be like Hoggo, like, give it over, like give me back, the orb of power. So, and then Hoggle's gonna like look at it like, oh, it's this precious jewel, and then he sees Jareth and he knows how terrible things were. Jareth has all these like pretty promises, but he was miserable. Let's have Hoggle take that crystal ball. He gets a look of, determination and grit in his eyes. He gives Jareth one last meaningful look, and then he smashes the crystal ball on the ground, on the stones, and it just shatters into pieces. And
Kind of like Sarah did at the first one.
yeah, exactly. And it hurts Jareth. Like Jareth goes down on a knee. And this would be a cool time if maybe if we save the worm like for the third arrow to like let's have the worm come back and like shoot, one of the crystal balls out of Jareth's hand. I've kind of lost track of how many crystal balls there are, but I just think it would be cool if like Hoggle smashes one and then like maybe the worm takes out one because he killed the missus, or whatever. Or,
Right.
and it's like they're like chipping away at this power that Jareth just got back. I don't know how the third one might get smashed or if it needs to be, but I feel like this
Yeah.
is like we have Jareth come back and then again it's almost anticlimactic because it's like, nah, like we never needed you here, bro.
Yeah, no, I think we can combine all these ideas. So we do the thing with Wabi. We see him get get the orb. He does the evil grin. Maybe Hoggle gets one. He's just kind of obsessed, like he's staring at it, like ooh shiny. And have like Grumph. We see him in the background, like kicking the other orb, like trying to catch it, like doing that comical thing of like he's too big, like his feet are way too big. He keeps accidentally kicking the ball as he's trying to grab it, like
Hmm.
oh, so he's doing that in the background, have this whole comical thing going on. Have Jareth, come back, do his whole speech, and smiling at Sarah, then have the worm shoot that bauble, like stopping him, and have him like, hiss at the worm, look around like he doesn't have the bauble, but
Hmm.
Hoggle still has one.
Hmm.
And then we should hear like the shatter behind him, and then Grump feel like, oh darn it, like he accidentally stepped on it. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
nice.
So now Hoggle is the only one with the orb, and Jareth could, be again making the pretty promises, like I'll give you anything you want, Hoggle. You'll be my second in command. Like,
Hmm.
he's going on like doing the whole thing. Like, I will
Yes,
restore order. Like,
perfect.
I will, and have Hoggle like, and maybe he sees like he looks into the orb and he sees like the kingdom restored, and he sees like him sitting, sitting on a throne beside Jareth, like,
Hmm.
and like goblins bringing him jewels and all this. Like, again, all these things that aren't going to happen. But like he's seeing it in the orb, like he's his eyes are getting wider and wider, and then like maybe like the sound is like cutting out, so we're hearing like the happy sounds of like this vision that Hoggle is seeing, and then we hear the sounds of battle kind of collapse back in,
Hmm.
and have like Jareth yelling at him like give me the orb, and have Hoggle look at it and look at him and be like no, and then throw it down on the ground and smash it,
Perfect.
and yeah, the world ain't perfect right now, but fuck you, we don't need you, like we don't need another ruler. So
Yeah, oh, I
and
love
so
it.
yeah, we just combine all three ideas,
I love it. No, this is exactly like the way that good storytelling works, where it's like, okay, and we did this before, like in a Great Pumpkin episode, where it's like, okay, you had an idea, and it's like, wait, let me switch it up just a little bit. Okay, wait, let me switch it up just a little bit more. Wait, one more
Yep.
turnaround, and it's like, oh, we finally got there. I love it, where we get, each character who's kind of important here, like Grumph and like the Worm and Hoggle, they all get a moment, and like Sarah doesn't have to be the one who defeats Jareth again. We saw her do that already. Like now, it's like
Yep.
the characters who live here who they have some agency for themselves, right? Um, but so, and speaking of the characters who live here, so all the baubles or the crystal balls get smashed, and like we see Jareth, like he gets, maybe he just gets like, I don't know if we should do like the crumble into dust death, or like he's just enveloped in like light and then like dissipates, but not like a bloody death, because it is a kids movie despite how creepy we've made it, but like
Right.
he gets kind of like nothing too over the top, and then it's like the kingdom cheers, everybody's happy, Grumph is defeated, and Jareth, his brief return has been overturned again, and then maybe you start seeing the goblins, like it's almost like they're snapping out of a spell. They're not fighting, they're looking around like confused, they like take their like war helmets off, and they're talking to each other, and it's like they're talking clearly, and like not like goofy little like laughter and like stupid little jokes, but like they're talking, and it's like, wait a second, all these goblins were under some kind of a spell, like Jareth's spell, and now that Jareth is like really gone, the spell has been broken, and it's like everybody can think clearly again. And I don't know how to explain it yet, because it's just kind of coming to me. I don't know if Hoggle knew all along, maybe, or if some other character can explain it. But what I think would be cool is like, what if all these goblins had been people or like kids who had been spirited away, just like Sarah's little brother Toby in the first one? Like, why did Jareth want the
Uh-huh.
babies so much? Maybe it's because all the goblins in Goblin City were all humans at one point, like the kids in Pinocchio who go off to, what is it, Fantasy Island, and become donkeys or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
so not all the other creatures, like not the fires, not the pixies, but like the goblins specifically. And now it's like they're coming out of this spell. they still look like goblins. I don't think we need to have them transform back into kids, but like it would be a really interesting last minute twist if like holy shit, there really was this lingering evil that we had to solve. So when Sarah came back to the labyrinth, it wasn't just because Grumpf was being a big bully, but because there was this unresolved thing that had to be finally finished to like free the goblins.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. No, that does make sense because that's what he was doing with the children, was turning them into goblins. So yeah, I mean, if Jareth is gone, like that was the thing. Like his essence still lingered because he wasn't he his power had been taken away from him, but he wasn't dead.
Hmm.
So now that he's dead, like maybe the spell has broken.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be great. I don't, and I don't know what the consequences are, but like again, thinking back to that theme we mentioned earlier, where Sarah has to sort of learn what the consequences of her actions are. I don't know that we ever really put paid to that properly as we were figuring this out. It was just something that I thought would be interesting to see if we could make it work. And this is one of those things where when you're writing a story or a screenplay, you don't really necessarily think about, oh, I'm going to put this moral lesson in here, but like you kind of figure that out after the fact. Like you figure out the story and you go like, what's really happening here? Like what's the underlying
Right.
theme, and then you can go back and you can pepper that in and like tweak the dialogue and add in details and really drive home like what the story's really about. And I think here,
Right.
it's like, it kind of ties into like the consequences of what these kids, maybe the kids did stuff, like they were naughty kids who got, trapped as goblins, or, whatever it is, or just the fact that Sarah like didn't finish the job she started. Again, I don't know. I'm
Well,
just brainstorming, but we could tie it together in like a second draft, you know?
I feel like they would be the unwanted children. Like I feel like they would literally be the lost boys, because it's
Hmm.
like, Sarah has to ask for the Goblin King to come and take Toby away. They
Yeah.
even say
Hmm.
like, it's she's got to say the words. It's like, what are the words? And it's like, I wish the goblins would come and take him away right now. That's not hard, is it? It's
Right.
like, so there's that whole thing where it's like, these were children that were wished away. Like, how sad is that? Like,
Yeah.
somebody that was taking care of these kids wished they didn't have that responsibility anymore. So Jareth stepped in as like this bizarre surrogate and turned them into like, twisted visions of his own making, like his own, like how he would raise them. And he's raising them as goblins, like these chaotic little monsters. So
Hmm.
now that that Jareth is gone, it's like some of these kids, maybe they're like 100 years old, like they're
Yeah.
so they're trapped, they're not human anymore, but maybe they know who they are now. So
Yeah.
now it's
Yeah.
like the whole, like it's kind of a dual-edged sword where it's like, yeah, they restored balance to the labyrinth in the sense of like there's no longer a warring king trying to destroy everything, and like Hoggle and Ludo and Sir Didymus are going to kind of like basically make the labyrinth government. So
Yeah.
they're going to be like kind of overseeing everything, but now they have this like kingdom of unwanted kids.
Yeah, and I don't know why exactly, but I feel like it would be a good role for Hoggle. Like, maybe Hoggle's gonna kind of step forward as to become the sort of, surrogate dad for, all of these like goblin kids. Like he's not a goblin himself, he's more of a dwarf, like a fantasy
Yeah.
style dwarf. But I feel like him kind of being like Daddy Hoggle to all the lost goblins, like it's a good fit,
Right.
and he knows the labyrinth. Like it does make sense for him, to kind of be in charge. Like, yeah, he smashed the crystal ball to defeat Jareth, but he still ended up kind of in charge anyway. I mean, not
Right.
as a king, because again, like you said, he'll rule with Ludo and Didymus and the other people. Like, the bird hat king would be hilarious.
Right.
Oh man.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think we can. I don't know that I really want to try to step through any more scenes here. I feel like we kind of like reached the end, but like the only other thing that
Yeah.
I wanted to say is like let's close the story arc at the beginning where Sarah is in school, and she was trying to get that like big part in the play. Like I think she's gonna be a little bit more mature once again, like return to Earth. Like she has to go and deal with what's going on in her life. Again, in a second draft, we can like work this whole consequences thing into it. But I think what would be a cool way to finish off is she goes back and like she doesn't get the big part in the play, but like whatever, that's okay, because instead we're going to see her doing like, you know, like a one woman play, like Shakespeare in the Park style, like just putting on like fantasy story plays by herself in the park, and she becomes a much bigger hit in like the neighborhood or at the college than, you know, that silly old theater program, you know, because hers is just, you know, it's these like fun, you know, adventure stories, you know, and it's like, oh, when she tells the story, it's like it seems so real, you know.
Right, and she could be telling stories about the labyrinth, like telling,
Yeah.
so like all the characters in her stories would be like Hoggle and Ludo and Sir Didymus and Aloysius, and like
Hmm.
she could make up these different characters to go on adventures, and kind of become like almost like a Mother Goose type character,
Yeah.
like telling these stories to children and like acting them out.
Yeah, exactly. And then she has like maybe her little stuffed animals like that she had in the first movie, like, you know, like, and this is Mr. Didymus, you know, and
Right.
or Sir Didymus or whatever. You know, it's like she's got kind of like the props, but yeah, she's just sort of telling these stories, so she becomes this like storyteller performer. And I just think that would be a really fun way, and it would be almost interesting if it's this cool reveal where even though there was no narrator in these two Labyrinth movies, like we could have it be almost as if she was the one who wrote the stories down, like to tell the human children of like the tales of the
Right.
labyrinth, you know?
Absolutely. No, that's cool. I like that.
All right, cool, man. We did it. I think we did it.
Look, I feel like we definitely both got hung up on a few things just because it's like, oh God, it's the labyrinth. It's like it's kind of like how we did on Goonies, where it's like, oh God, it's Goonies. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel comfortable playing in this world.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. And like when we started, I was like, oh, you know, we don't need to get all caught up in the details. Like, you know, we sometimes get real bogged down with like we got to get it just right. And then we almost immediately started doing that, like right from the very beginning, because yeah, to your point, it's labyrinth. It's like we had to get it just right.
yeah,
You know?
or at least as right as we could. But
Yeah.
but yeah, one of the things I wish that we had have been able to work in, but it didn't organically fit, is I wanted to bring back the bag ladies from like because we only ever deal with the one in the first movie, or she's like she shows Sarah her like fake room, but
Hmm.
like standing outside that room we see another one of those bag ladies, so we know there's multiple ones of them. And I kept picturing like how creepy would it be if they were like again, I'm almost picturing them like trapdoor spiders, where they're like creating these like nests of nostalgia to like grab like wandering like weary travelers and like trap them in this little nest of like nostalgia for that individual, and they're just like sucking on their life essence, kind of like they did to the Gelflings in the Dark Crystal.
Right.
I was like, that would be fucking creepy, but yeah,
Yeah.
it just didn't fit.
Yeah. 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 That's funny. Like, nostalgia's a hell of a drug, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, that would be cool to fit somewhere. That sucks, but yeah, I mean, I had a couple other things
Yeah.
I wanted to fit in. Like, I wanted to spend more time on like how is the labyrinth itself like different now, but I feel like we were trying to figure out to get the characters on the table where it was like, yeah, okay, like let's just move on. I don't want to have to, you know, detail every like little peril. I feel like when we got into the sewer tunnels, we were able to slow down and do that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, there's other stuff I wanted to tell, but you know, whatever. Sometimes you gotta keep it
Kill
rolling.
your darlings.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, this feels like it's been a long one. I don't even know exactly how long, but it feels like it's been like days. So let's
Right. And
um
sadly, I got to get to work. So,
yeah.
oh, one last thing I wanted to say, for anyone that didn't pick up on it, Wabi is just Bowie
Oh,
spelled differently. So,
I didn't even notice either. I just thought it was like
uh,
it's just a cute little name.
that's kind of why I was like, well, it's WOBIE. Okay, yeah, it could just be Bowie. Just mix up the letters. There you
Oh,
go.
it was right in front of me. Damn it.
I just wanted
Okay.
to point that out.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I only had one other thing I wanted to say before we wrap this up, and it's just a comment on our last episode that we put out when we did our Nerd Cards Revoked episode. So it's like, well, first of all, I hope that we didn't like genuinely piss anybody off or offend anybody because, you know, we weren't really trying to do that. You know, we were just kind of having some fun with the rental rant episode. Um,
oh yeah,
But it's a weird coincidence that I mentioned in the episode a story about that happened to me in high school, where there was like this rock band that played that Black Velvet song from the 90s.
Mhm.
Turns out the artist's name was Alana Miles, which I was reminded of the very next day, right after we recorded, because one of the YouTube channels that I've subscribed to, Rock and Roll True Stories, put out an episode about the history of that song and about how Alana Miles got really famous on that one hit wonder and then got completely screwed over by her record label out of all her money. Classic, record company story,
Oh yeah.
um, fucking music industry, man. But I thought it was like a weird coincidence. And then of course, so I was watching the video the next day and like kept listening to that song and thinking of that embarrassing moment, when that woman like
Mhm.
sang the song, like almost serenaded me in front of my whole fucking high school, and I was embarrassed. And I thought, man, what would be, it would be, I want to start a new trend. We'll see if it picks up. I don't know. We'll see if anyone listens to our podcast. Like Rick rolling is over. Like that was a trend that was, it was old before it was even cool.
Right.
Everyone knows about Rick rolling, right, with the Rick Astley song. So I'm going to recommend that we start a new trend called Black Velveting, baby.
I wish this was a video podcast so you could see how hard I fucking jumped when you played that.
It was
Because I was not expecting it, and suddenly it was just like Black Veil. I was like, oh Jesus Christ! Like I jumped so hard.
exactly like. So that's what Black Velveting is. It's like you're not gonna like trick somebody into like, oh, here, watch my video, like this cool, check out this cool meme, and then you Rick rolling with the Rick Astley song. Instead, it's gonna be like, like, hey, did you hear that? And then bam, as loud as you can, Black Velvet and a little more smile.
It's like that prank that people keep doing with the James Brown, I feel good, where it's like, wow, it does that,
Yeah,
and they'll just turn the speaker all the way up and just play that section and watch as people jump.
yeah, exactly. So if anybody needs the 5-second MP3 clip, I got you covered. Let me know. We'll see if we can Black Velvet some people. I know I'm gonna try it again.
I'm gonna have to add that to my soundboard to fuck with people when I play games. So
Exactly. All right, let's wrap it
good
up, Mike.
times.
I appreciate it.
Already.
I know that we went on kind of late tonight, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks everyone once again for tuning into the Raised by Rentals program. Find us online at raisedbyrentals.com, at Raised by Rentals on the socials. Of course, we belong to the Rad Pantheon, a super team of podcasters, artists, all sorts of rad creative people supporting each other to help spread the gospel of rad stuff. So if you like this show, check out those projects. Mike, you're in several of those. Do you want to plug anything today?
Yeah, I mean, the Boogeyman's Closet is still technically on hold. I still have 2 episodes to release. I have way too many things going on at the moment to even focus on editing anything. But it will come back. I promise it is coming back. And Count Creepyhead's Saturday Morning Monster Mash. We are also kind of up and down with releases due to work schedules being kind of nightmarish. But we are putting episodes out. We did just put an episode out recently. Another one will be coming down the pipeline soon. I want to say probably until June is over. I'm probably going to have issues with getting episodes out regularly just because I have way too many things lined up. So, and on top of that, we're still short a person at work, so I'm working overtime almost every week.
Oh
So,
gosh. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, no worries, man. Like no worries. Like it's all in fun. It's all supposed to just be fun. So we'll, when you're able to get back in the saddle, that's cool. We're definitely looking forward to it. But in the meantime, do what you gotta do. Life gets in the way. Shit happens.
indeed.
So, like I said, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you had fun with us, visit us on those socials, drop us a line, leave a comment, leave a podcast rating. Let us know what you think we should improve next time. And with that, I'm Josh.
Mike.
And we have to return some videotapes. Raised by Rentals is a member of the Rad Pantheon Network. Visit radpantheon.com to support rad stuff. The theme music is Forbidden Fruit by Velvet Bethany. You can purchase music and learn more at velvetbethany.com.
You don't by any chance know the way through this labyrinth, do you?
Oh, me? Nah, I'm just a worm.